distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all to the annual Cybersecurity Education and Research Conference, a joint venture organized by the Kuwait's National Cybersecurity Center in collaboration with the UK government, the British Embassy in Kuwait, Kuwait College of Science and Technology, and Kuwait University. This event serves as a pivotal platform for fostering dialogue, sharing knowledge, and advancing cybersecurity research and education in Kuwait. Cybersecurity has become an increasingly critical aspect of our lives in the digital age. As technology continues to evolve at an unprecedented pace, so too do the threats to our digital security. It is imperative that we stay ahead of these threats through robust education, research, and collaboration. I am confident that this conference will be a fruitful and inspiring event, and I look forward to the insightful discussions and valuable insights that will emerge from our deliberations. Thank you. Now please welcome on stage the President of Kuwait College of Science and Technology, Professor Khalid al-Baqai, to deliver his speech.
Assalamu alaikum. His Excellency Engineer Mohammed Bouarki, Chair of the National Cybersecurity Center in Kuwait, Mr. Stuart Summers, Charge d'Affaires of the British Embassy in Kuwait, distinguished guests, speakers, and participants. It's my great pleasure to welcome you at Kuwait College of Science and Technology for the opening of the 6th UK-Kuwait Cybersecurity Education and Research Conference, CERC 2024. It's a great honor and pleasure to host this conference in this hall, where it started 6 years ago. This conference is a fruit of great collaboration between many organizations mentioned before by my colleague, the Kuwait National Cybersecurity Center, the UK Embassy in Kuwait representing the UK government, Kuwait College of Science and Technology, and Kuwait University. And we are very delighted that many organizations are participating in the conference by attendance. Today, in today's world of our complete dependence on ICT and internet, no country or organization or even an individual is immune from cyber attacks. No need anymore to convince anyone or even tell anyone about the importance of cybersecurity, given the many high-profile cyber attacks worldwide. Cyber attacks of all types, including warfare, spyware, ransomware, identity theft, denial of service attacks, and many other forms that have become a concern for all governments, organizations, businesses, and individuals. Therefore, cyber protection and prevention cannot be considered anymore a problem of the IT departments. Cybersecurity needs a global and comprehensive efforts that combine individual user awareness, ICT infrastructure readiness and continuous updating, boardroom decision-making, and government strategies and policy-making. Distinguished guests, I'm delighted to see that many events are being organized in Kuwait about cybersecurity this month. And as Engineer Bouarki mentioned, it's becoming a hot season for cybersecurity in October, and we are also at KCST proud to have this conference as part of what we call Cyber October, Cyber Month, where we have multiple events all around the month, not only this conference. So these events, although very important to have, they contribute to the awareness and raising importance of cybersecurity. However, CERC conferences were and will always be special and different as their nature and content was set from day one to focus on, first, being academic conference with cybersecurity education in the heart of its mission. We believe that school teachers are among the most influential people who can spread awareness among the young generations like nobody else. Therefore, we value the effort and participation of officials from the Ministry of Education, and in particular, I would like to mention Ms. Muna As-Salim and her valuable contributions to the conference, and she will be talking during the conference as well. Secondly, we focus on the cyber security research, and we learn from established and young researchers from the UK and Kuwait. With research, we can be ahead in understanding and exploring the threats and prepare for prevention rather than just protection. And finally, the collaboration I mentioned in preparing CERC conferences is a unique as it brings international, public and private, government and education partners to work together. This is the way forward when it comes to cybersecurity defense. No one organization can achieve this alone. Distinguished guests, according to the Cybersecurity Jobs Report of the Cybercrime Magazine, there will be 3.5 million unfilled cybersecurity jobs globally in 2025. Therefore, one of the most urgent tasks is to create a platform for capacity building in Kuwait for cybersecurity experts. In short term, through specialized training programs, and in long term, through higher education programs that will equip the graduates with the relevant skills in cybersecurity for workplace in the public and private sector. In both areas, the UK has been leading the world, and therefore we hope to learn from the UK speakers about strategies, experiences, and research at the UK institutions and universities. Many of the UK participants are colleagues and friends, so welcome to Kuwait for all of you, and thank you for being with us today. I want here to especially welcome Professor Omar Rana from Cardiff University, who has been with us in each of the previous 5 conferences. So he's a regular, he became part of it, and he will be with us as well today. We at KST have created a cyber security academy under the umbrella of the KCST Cybersecurity Center and Center of Innovation and Continued Education and Training, CSET. Last year alone, over 120 KCST graduates were successful in obtaining professional certifications from the international organization EC Council, in addition to their university degree. Certification in key topics like CEH, Certified Ethical Hacking, Certified Incident Handling, Certified Penetration Testing, as well as Certified SOC Management. KCST is the only partner and only certified training and testing center for EC Council in Kuwait. We are very proud that the director of the KCST Cybersecurity Center, Dr. Basil Al-Othman, was selected last year as the Global Cybersecurity Trainer of the Year by the EC Council. In addition, we created new cybersecurity and artificial intelligence specialization tracks within our computer engineering and computer science bachelor degree programs. These specializations are supported by specialized facilities, including the first and only cybersecurity center and SOC in a university in the Middle East. And this is together with the Artificial Intelligence and Robotics Center, Renewable Energy Center, Nanotechnology and 5G Communications Laboratory. I hope you will have time during your stay in these details to visit our Cybersecurity Center and the other centers and facilities in the university. Allow me finally to thank all who contributed to the preparations of the conference, and they are many. the NCSC team, thank you, the UK Embassy team, and the amazing KCST team from academics, IT, facilities, procurement, marketing, and all other departments. And then allow me to mention one person in particular, since I'm mentioning people, Al-Marquez Al-Khanna, who coordinated the effort for the conference. Thank you. And thank you for listening, and I wish you an enjoyable and fruitful conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Khalid. Now please welcome on stage Engineer Mohammed Abdulaziz Bouraki, Chief of the National Cybersecurity Center in Kuwait, to deliver his speech.
Assalamu alaikum. Sabah al-khair jami'an. Good morning everyone. Thanks for having NCSC today to empower such a great event. The CERC, the 6th edition, Professor Khalid, and distinguished guest, and our student, valuable guests. Allow me to speak my word in Arabic. أصحاب السعادة، السيدات والسادة، الحضور الكريم، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. يسعدني ويشرفني أن أرحب بكم جميعا في النسخة السادسة من مؤتمر سيرك للتعليم والبحث العلمي في مجال الأمن السبراني، والذي ينعقد بالتعاون مع سفارة المملكة المتحدة وجامعة الكويت وكلية الكويت والعلوم والتكنولوجيا. إن هذا الحدث أصبح مع مرور السنوات منصة رائدة للتعاون العلمي والتكنولوجي في مجال الأمن السبراني، والذي ينعكس التزامنا المتواصل بتعزيز الأمن الرقمي وتطوير الحلول الابتكارية التي تساعدنا في مواجهة التهديدات الإلكترونية المتزايدة، ويعد الأمن السبراني في هذا العصر الرقمي المتسارع حجر الزاوية لضمان استمرارية ونجاح التحول الرقمي، مما يتطلب تعزيز التعاون بين المؤسسات الأكاديمية والجهات الحكومية والقطاع الخاص للوصول إلى حلول مبتكرة وفعالة. وإذ يواصل المؤتمر مع دخول عامه السادس تعزيز مكانته كمحطة مهمة للمختصين الأكاديميين لتبادل الأفكار والخبرات كما في السنوات السابقة، ويكون منبرا مثمرا للنقاشات البناءة ومصدر الإلهام والابتكار في مواجهة التحديات السبرانية المستقبلية. نحن فخورون اليوم بشراكتنا مع سفارة المملكة المتحدة التي تقدم فرص لتبادل الخبرات وأفضل الممارسات الدولية في مجال الأمن السبراني، وكذلك نحن ممتنون للدعم المتواصل من جامعة الكويت وكلية للعلوم والتكنولوجيا في تطوير البحث العلمي وبناء القدرات الجيل القادم من المختصين في هذا المجال الحيوي. أشكركم على مشاركتكم الفعالة، ونتطلع لنقاشات غنية بالمعرفة والرؤى التي تدفعنا نحو مستقبل سبراني أكثر أمانا واستدامة. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Thank you, Engineer Mohammed Bouraki. Now please welcome on stage Mr. Stuart Summers, Charge d'Affaires, British Embassy, Kuwait.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the British Embassy and the Ambassador, I'm pleased to welcome you to the 6th Cybersecurity Education and Research Conference. I would like to thank you for joining us today. We are back at Kuwait College of Science and Technology, the original host of CERC, after several years being kindly hosted at Kuwait University, and it's a great venue and lovely to be here. Ladies and gentlemen, the UK-Kuwaiti collaboration to co-host this cybersecurity conference with the involvement of and expertise from our universities, governments and businesses has over its last 5 iterations shown fantastic growth in not only building understanding, capability and skills in cybersecurity, but also to enhance the already excellent constructive engagement in the sector between our 2 countries. I'm sure the 6th conference will be no different. The theme for this year's CERC, Advancing Cybersecurity in the Age of AI in Education, is particularly relevant given the great strides and changes we are seeing globally in the field of AI and the pressure this is putting on cybersecurity. The challenge this presents will only grow, and we will need to continue to advance our cybersecurity education and technology to keep up in this new age. The next 2 days will provide both context to these issues and a platform for learning more. The upcoming discussions on cyber ethics, privacy regulations, resilience and system control of our industries and critical infrastructure, and how we integrate cybersecurity into education and professional development will be fascinating. It is especially welcome that representatives from 8 of the leading UK research institutions and 7 leading Kuwaiti experts from both government and private sectors are taking part in this conference. I'm sure their presentations later today and tomorrow will be extremely illuminating and thought-provoking. I'm particularly pleased to welcome Professor Julia Sutcliffe, the UK's Department for Business and Trade Chief Scientific Advisor, who will be joining us shortly with a keynote address, I think remotely. Professor Sutcliffe has a wealth of experience and expertise in both the private and government sectors, as well as being an esteemed academic. Ladies and gentlemen, since the signing of the Memorandum of Understanding on Cybersecurity between Kuwait and the UK in 2017, our partnership has continued to grow through the strength of cooperation and understanding and by speaking the same cybersecurity language. Britain is consistently ranked as one of the most capable countries in the world for cybersecurity. Nevertheless, despite this, we are still vulnerable. You will all be aware of the ransomware attack earlier this year that affected major London hospitals and patients in critical need of care. So we cannot be complacent. The threat is global, insidious, and difficult to mitigate. There is a multitude of bad actors, states, terrorists, and criminals that are looking to exploit vulnerabilities. This threat has no respect for boundaries and borders, and so the best and probably only way to tackle these threats is through strategic partnerships. The need is no more apparent than today as we enter the age of AI. This conference is a demonstration not only of the cooperation that exists between our 2 governments, but also between private and public organisations and academia. I'm delighted that Kuwait and the UK is continuing to build on its already strong partnership, developing new areas for collaboration and working together to train our talented people to be the best in the world at combating the cyber threats of the future. The next 2 days, I'm sure, will cement the continuing basis of our cooperation in the field of cybersecurity, education and research. I would like to end by expressing some thanks. Firstly, a big thank you to Major General Engineer Mohammed Abdulaziz Baraki, Head of the National Cybersecurity Centre, Kuwait for his endorsement and continuing support for CERC and his team's support with the planning and coordination of this conference. I'd also like to thank Professor Khalid Al-Bagain, President of the Kuwait College of Science and Technology, as the host of the event this year, for his support and use of this wonderful facility, so thank you. I'd also like to thank our 2 keynote speakers, Engineer Mashal Al-Zayed and Professor Julia Sutcliffe, and all our presenters, the staff at Kuwait College of Science and Technology, all the members of the organising committee, and with a special thanks to Makaza Al-Khana from KCST for all the hard work and putting together this year's programme. Finally, last but not least, I'd like to say thank you to you, the participants, both those here in person and those joining us virtually, to participate in this conference, as without your enthusiasm and involvement, we could not succeed in achieving our shared goal of increasing cybersecurity awareness and capacity building. So thank you, and I wish you a successful conference.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. And now, As a token of our appreciation for our partners, please welcome on stage Professor Khalid Al-Baqa'in. Please welcome on stage Engineer Mohammed Abdulaziz Al-Bu'ariki, Chief of the National Cybersecurity Center, to receive his award. Now please welcome on stage Mr. Stuart Summers, Charge d'Affaires, British Embassy, to receive his award. A token of appreciation to the President of KCST, Professor Khalid Al-Baqa'in, from Engineer Mohammed Bu'ariki and Mr. Stuart Summers. Now please welcome on stage Engineer Mish'al Al-Zayed, National Cybersecurity Center, to deliver the first keynote speech of the day.
Can use this, right? Can I move the... If it doesn't work out, I'll speak here. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. First of all, I want to thank you for hosting such an event. It's good to go back in time. If I go back in time when I started, my last speech was in CERC in 21. I was spoken about a vision that we will have at NCSC. And I was speaking on what we're gonna have in that center. Now today, I'll be providing what that center's role and how it saw the light in February 22, actually 4 months after the speak in CERC. Thank you. Before I start speaking about the National Cybersecurity Center, I want to define the difference between cybersecurity and information security. There's a lot of misunderstanding between the two. So, the type of information in the world, there are 3 types of information. There is paper information, there is electronic information, there is memory information. Information security consists of all types of those information, the paper, electronic, and memory. However, cyber, we only focus on the electronic information. This is what we view. Cybersecurity is the protection of computer systems, networks, and data from unauthorized access, cyber attacks, threat, or damage, ensuring the CIA, which is confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information. So the cybersecurity will mainly focus on electronic information. So, but however, cybersecurity is still a branch of information security. It speaks about transition between data from paper-based, which is non-digital format, to digital data formats to increase the risk for cyber institution. It is essential to implement cybersecurity It is important to implement cybersecurity in each department within any government organization. Why is it important to have cybersecurity in any organization? You want to minimize the internal risk. There's a lot of internal risk from people within the organization, so you want to make sure you minimize that internal risk. You want to safeguard the national, that's our role in CSC. You want to fight cybercrime, and you, as the speaker before me mentioned, there's a lot of cybercrime, there's cyber fraud around the world. You want to prevent financial losses, you want to protect sensitive data and privacy, and you want to make sure you support regulatory compliance from different organizations that have compliance. What is the scope of cybersecurity? First of all, you have to talk about people, process, and technology. So you want to make sure that people are aware, they have the proper training, they have the proper awareness. You have the processes, you have the framework and the policies to fight any incidents. You want to make sure you have the proper tools. The tools, it does not include only firewalls, it includes more than just firewalls. In the past, we were talking about firewalls and antiviruses, but today it's more than that. You want to make sure you have proper access control on your systems. You want to make sure you have the data security. Is it encrypted? Is it hidden from unauthorized breach? And you want to have incident response plan, which is you want to know when you detect what procedures you have to take within the incident. So that's the scope of cybersecurity. Why do we want to define cybersecurity departments? Because we want to reduce the burden on the IT department. We want the IT department to focus on their role, which is providing technical support, system administration, organizing infrastructure and network management, providing backup and disaster recovery, where cybersecurity will look at the different parts from a cyber aspect. That's why it's essential to have cybersecurity department within any government organization. What are the main reasons? Again, we want to reduce the burden on the IT department. Kuwait has a vision on 2035 to be more digitalized, so we want to make sure we have the proper security to be digitalized at that time. The more we go into digitalization, the more risk and the more attacks that we expect. What will be the roles of the cybersecurity department within any organization? Its role to analyze and monitor activities. It will be the verifying unauthorized users. They will be as an audit on the IT department, making sure they have the proper access controls. And their role is to detect cyber incidents and to respond to it. So, our own responsibilities as a National Cybersecurity Center. As you can see, you have different departments within the organization. We are the northbound for these departments. The center will oversee all relevant state entities by coordinating, communicating, cooperating, and training their cyber staff or the cybersecurity departments within Kuwait. So what are some of our responsibilities? We have a lot of responsibility within our decree. However, these are the main responsibilities. We will be developing national cyber strategy, including policies and national standards. We will be training the National Cyber Incident Response Team. We will be doing international cooperation in cybersecurity on a global scale. We will be protecting national and network and system against cyber threats, and we will be supporting partnership between the public and private sector and the cybersecurity on a national scale. As I said, the decree was established in 2022. The number of the decree was 37. So the main roles that were the objectives that were set in the decree, we wanted to build and develop national national cadre specialized in field cybersecurity. We will be enhancing the culture of cybersecurity that supports the safe and proper of cyberspace. We'll be protecting and monitoring critical systems, national infrastructure information, as well as the national information network in the country. We will enhancing cooperation and coordination, as well as the exchange of information between the various local and international entities to raise the level of cybersecurity readiness in the state of Kuwait. So these are already established in the Kuwait newspaper, which states these are our main objectives within the decree. Given the fact that CERC's collaboration between UK and Kuwait, it is important to speak about international cyber diplomacy and define cyber diplomacy. So, cyber diplomacy involves the use of diplomatic tools and initiatives to achieve objectives in the complex of continuously evolving uncharted territory of cybersecurity. What are the key aspects of international cyber diplomacy? It includes building trust through cooperation in the field of the cybersecurity between different parties. It sets the standards and collaboration between nations. It develops the agreement and prosecutes cybercrime, strengthening the cybersecurity capacities as we are doing currently. From what are the benefits? We know when we have cyber diplomacy, we'll have global partnership, and the cyber diplomacy facilitate the global partnership that helps secure information systems. It will have secure systems. Cyber diplomacy plays a critical role in protecting systems as we exchange expertise between different countries. It will enhance economic growth as we foster secure cybersecurity, which enables economic growth through cooperation and secure networks. From our point of view as Kuwait, there are a lot of key players in the cyber diplomacy within Kuwait. These are one of the mains. However, that's with different organizations and cooperation. There are bilateral, as Mr. Seward has mentioned, which is the MOU with the UK. So Kuwait has different forms. We collaborate with the Council of the State of Arab Gulf. We collaborate with the European Union, and United Nations, and ITU, and League Arab, and the Economic Forum, let alone we collaborate with bilateral with different countries as individual. So now I'm going to talk about the trends that we have to worry about in the future. I'm not going to talk about a lot of the trends, but the main trends, AI. AI is one of the increasing use of automation tasks, enhancing decision-making, and improving user experience. So AI is very important. AI can be defined as it will bring the fraudulent impersonation, but in the other field, it will protect, it will help in analyzing the data, protecting yourself through AI. So this is something that we have to worry about in the future. Internet of Things, IoT, has been becoming more used across any industry. Even homes, we have smart homes. We have your dishwasher, you have your refrigerator. Many of the IoT devices don't have the proper cybersecurity measures within it. So, and people will still make those as on a default setting. So IoT is very important to look at in the future. Cloud computing, it has been expanding. It has been easier for people to build their data center within a cloud. But however, you need to focus on the cloud computing, security within the cloud computing. You're putting your data in somebody's hands, let's say, different party. However, you want to make sure you have the proper measures to protect your data when it's in cloud. Blockchain technology. Blockchain has its uses and it has the pros and cons. Also, it's something that we have to look in the future how to protect against the use of blockchain technology, not the currencies, but we're talking about the technology itself, how we want to make sure it has the proper manner to be used in the future. So we spoke about the trends. I want to speak about the things that we have faced within 24, which is the most common attacks. Phishing was one of the most common attacks that has been faced on the global scale. There's a lot of phishing. You might receive phishing on a daily basis. Sometimes some people will get caught. If that person will get caught within an organization, might affect the whole organization. So phishing attacks have been increasing on a global scale. We have ransomware. The ransomware is another trend that have been done in 2024. The attacker will go into your network. It will encrypt a lot of your data and they will ask for financial or payment to decrypt, and sometimes it's not the proper way to deal with ransomware. We have man in the middle. Man in the middle, it's an issue for individuals, mainly, most individuals will go into an airport and they will connect to any open network, and that network will not be really the network of the airport. However, there's a man in the middle impersonating the network of the airport, and it will get all of the flow that goes back and forth between the two parties. So man in the middle, another trend that has been in the 2024. DDoS. DDoS is overloading your website and traffic to disrupt the service and taking your service down. DDoS is another trend that has been in 2024. Supply chain attack. There's a lot of attack within the supply chain attack. The issue is not the organization, but when you outsource some of your services, the third party has been affected, and because of that third party that has been affected, you will be affected because you outsourced some of your services. That's why supply chain attack is another attack that's been seen in 2024. Zero-day exploit. Zero-day exploit, if you take you cannot defend yourself really if it's unpatched, but how you can defend yourself, if you take the proper measures within your network, you might mitigate and reduce the effect of zero-day exploit, but you have to wait for the patch for the developers so they can fix the zero-day exploit. Social engineering, it's the old way of manipulating, so it does not have to include sometimes doesn't have to include any digital it's just trying to get your information through communication and getting a lot of information out of you to compromise you in the future. So these are the main trends that we have seen in 2024. Now, I want to speak of the challenges that nations faced in the cybersecurity field. Shortage of skilled and cybersecurity professional, that's something there's a lack of shortage of people to work in the cybersecurity on the global scale. Limited budget, there's insufficient budgeting affecting the ability to recruit and train and retain cybersecurity. There is a lot of turnover within the cyber field. There is low awareness in cybersecurity careers. A lot of people don't focus on the cybersecurity field. They will focus on different fields because they think that's an easy way to go. Lack of specialized training and programs across the globe. Again, that's the same thing of not finding the proper training on a global scale. High demand of critical infrastructure sectors. So I'm talking about Kuwait. Since we have a vision for 2035, we need a lot of people to work in the cyber to defend against the attacks. So there's a high demand for people to work in the cyber field, but due to the shortage, we will not be able to cover all those people. Insufficient qualification of applicants. There are a lot of people who will talk about cyber and they think they can go into the cyber field, but they don't have the proper qualifications, and that relies on the educational systems to prepare them to that. Again, I said in the beginning, we were talking about when I talked about 21, when I spoke about 21, I spoke about the vision on having a cybersecurity center. Now I will speak on, now we have a cybersecurity center. So our vision within the cyber to establish the cyber operations, to have the proper incident response, to have the proper policies and strategy on a national scale, prepare the awareness campaigns across the nation, and have training programs across the nations. So that's our vision as a center to protect and safeguard the national interest of Kuwait. Where we want to go, what is our final thought? is to achieve cyber resilience. How we will achieve cyber resilience? If we have effective incident response plan, have crisis management exercises, and capacity building programs. By implementing those programs and training and awareness, we will be ready to achieve that goal, which is achieving cyber resilience. Thank you. I hope I gave you a brief about our center and how we work and what our plan in the future. Sorry, but to follow us and to make sure you want to know about our updates, you can scan the barcodes for our Instagram and CSC Twitter. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Engineer Mashal. And now, joining us online to give the second keynote of the day, please welcome Professor Julia Sutcliffe, Chief Scientific Advisor at the Department of Business and Trade, UK.
Hello, Professor Julia. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you see me?
Yes, we can see you. Thank you very much for joining us. I am Khalid Al-Bigain. I am the president of Kuwait College of Science and Technology, and we are very delighted to have you. So we can see you, we can hear you, so the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it's a real privilege for me as Chief Scientific Advisor for the UK's Department for Business and Trade to speak to you this morning. I'd like to start by expressing my regret at not being able to be with you all in person today, but it looks like you have a really packed and excellent agenda ahead of you, so I wish you all a great conference over the course of these 2 days. I've been asked to speak this morning about the work of my department and the ways the UK government can continue to collaborate closely with Kuwait and other partners on cybersecurity, and why it is so important that we do so. As Chief Scientific Advisor, I'm fortunate to occupy a unique position in the UK government, where I draw on my 25 years of experience as a technologist in the aerospace, defence and security sector to provide independent, expert advice to ministers and policymakers on a range of science and technology issues, whether relating to national security, climate change, emergency response to pandemics, or emerging technologies. STEM underpins so much of what we do in our daily lives. I don't work alone though. I'm very privileged to be part of a wider cohort of Chief Scientific Advisors that sit within our central departments, ministries and agencies, and engage with our counterparts in other countries. So turning to cybersecurity and economic growth. In terms of the work of my department, Department of Business and Trade, we lead our efforts to drive economic growth, which is the #1 mission of the UK government. Our ambition is to have the highest sustained growth in the G7. We can achieve this by taking advantage of the UK's unique strengths and untapped potential, by encouraging international investment and developing a new and modern industrial strategy. Last week, the Prime Minister hosted the UK's first International Investment Summit, during which $85 billion of foreign direct investment into the UK was announced, and 10% of this was for the development of new data centres. Details of the UK's new draft industrial strategy were also announced, and that sets out the 8 sectors and industries our government will focus on in the coming years. And of these sectors, digital and technologies is one. And it's great to see that emerging technologies like AI and cyber will be at the forefront of the UK government's economic growth agenda. But technology and cybersecurity are more than just a sector on their own. They are key horizontal enablers that cut across all areas of the economy. With the adoption of AI, companies can increase their productivity, and with cybersecurity, they're able to protect their intellectual property and data. And as the world becomes a more uncertain place, with the rise of hostile actors, ongoing conflict, and the increasing digitisation of economies, cybersecurity will play an ever-increasing part of our daily lives. It will affect us all as individual citizens. It will affect our businesses from the smallest to the largest, our public sector organisations, and our critical national infrastructure and our communities. In fact, by 2030, it is estimated that the cybersecurity sector will be worth $500 billion alone. The UK is very keen to share in this market growth alongside its partners. But cybersecurity is not just an opportunity, it's also a threat to economic growth. The World Economic Forum estimates that cybercrime amounts to the world's third largest economy, $9.2 trillion in 2024, generating more money than drug trafficking, counterfeiting, combined. It is expected and to continue to grow. And in the UK, we estimate that it costs our economy almost $35 billion a year, and this is rising. And it covers areas ranging from damage to both public and private sector supply chains, cost of recovery, and interference of operations. But the UK is well placed to tackle these rising threats with our dynamic cybersecurity sector. According to the UK's Department for Science, Innovation and Technology, our country is home to over 2,000 cybersecurity firms, employing over 60,000 staff. Many of these companies export their products, making the UK the third largest global exporter of cybersecurity services. And over 10% of UK headquartered companies have a physical presence in international markets. Cybersecurity is a quickly evolving sector, with emerging technologies such as AI and quantum being able to make and break the next steps in the industry. And the UK indeed is heavily investing into the R&D of cybersecurity, for these technologies and their careful management are going to be vital to securing that economic growth I talked about. To take artificial intelligence, this will enable more efficient detection of threats, but at the same time, it will systematically be able to exploit weaknesses, as we know. AI models are only as strong as the data inputted to them, and therefore data poisoning must be avoided. Strict cybersecurity protocols are a must to safeguard this data. And the UK has taken steps to build international consensus around regulation of AI through the convening of the world's first AI Safety Summit, which is aimed at ensuring the safe development of AI and to ensure that we can benefit from its transformative opportunities and use AI for good and for all in an inclusive manner in our countries and globally. Considering quantum technologies pose a potentially existential risk to our ability to keep our online presence safe. Quantum algorithms like Shor's algorithm unable to run make today's asymmetric encryption insecure and requires a complete reworking of our computing and our communication systems to make them quantum safe. So considering the UK's perspective on cybersecurity challenges and advancements, what is the UK government doing about this? So the National Cyber Strategy, published in 2022, sets out how the UK government will invest in growing our cybersecurity sector further. We allocated almost $2.6 billion in improving cybersecurity and legacy IT systems and established the Government Cyber Coordination Centre, which works to better coordinate operational cybersecurity efforts, transforming how cybersecurity data and threat intelligence is shared, consumed, and actioned across government. In 2016, the UK established the National Cybersecurity Centre. The centre is globally admired and is focusing on providing a unified response to cyber threats across the whole of the economy. The centre provides effective incident response and recovery to minimise harm and plays a critical role in supporting the wider population to understand the importance of cybersecurity. The centre also runs a Cyber First scheme, which is a talent scheme available to young people and offers bursaries for students. As part of the Women, Peace and Security agenda, the UK's Foreign, Commonwealth and Development Office organises UK Gulf Women in Cybersecurity Fellowship, which supports female cyber experts across the Gulf. The fellowship launched in Kuwait in September and will help women to build their careers and learn more about the developments within the cybersecurity industry. In Kuwait, the British Embassy organises and hosts the Turing Club, a regular gathering of British and Kuwaiti cyber professionals who listen to speakers from across the world of cyber and proactively seek to strengthen relationships between our two countries. And I encourage all of you to attend these excellent events. To bring all of that together, I wanted to stress that the UK's approach is built on collaboration. Collaboration with academia, collaboration with industry. We sometimes refer to this as the power triangle. In this relationship between government, the academic sector, from schools through to universities, and research and industry, which sets the ambition, we are creating a workforce to fuel an ecosystem which is innovative, collaborative, and effective. In turn, this creates the foundation which enables all other industries and our country to thrive. I'd like to close now with a few additional remarks. As we are on the 125th anniversary of relations between our two countries, this is a perfect time for us to reflect and take stock and look to the future. Our two nations have changed much since 1899, and yet this relationship has remained a constant. We also mark 70 years of our historic investment partnership with the Kuwaiti Investment Office in the City of London, whose investments continue to energise and shape the British economy's most innovative sectors. Now buoyed by the 2023 UK-Kuwait Declaration of Intent on Cybersecurity, we seek to enhance and expand cooperation into new areas. And I look forward to seeing more UK cybersecurity businesses working in your country alongside Kuwaiti partners to strengthen both Kuwaiti national security and business resilience, in turn aiding and diversifying economic growth, reflecting the key planks of the Kuwait Vision 2035. The UK believes that the goal of enhancing cybersecurity is not just limited to protecting the country from cyber threats, but also developing awareness, skills, and professionalism in this field. It seems clear to me that cybersecurity is an area where we can and must do more. There is scope for the UK and Kuwait to continue collaboration on cybersecurity. I'm proud to say that Britain has some of the world's most dynamic and innovative cyber companies, with cutting-edge technologies that are consistently improving as threats alter. The UK's cyber ecosystem is one of the strongest and most advanced. Many of our leading cybersecurity firms are small in size, but big in ambition and ability. and our cyber small medium-sized enterprises have developed some of the most uniquely sophisticated cybersecurity capabilities and are looking to scale up through investment and expand through exports and partnerships. And I look forward to working with Kuwait's investors in increasing investments in cybersecurity, supporting technological development, strengthening both British and Kuwaiti cyber defences, and in turn, seeing strong financial returns. I would encourage all who are considering where best to place their capital to look to the UK's cybersecurity community for groundbreaking tech and significant potential returns. And if this is something you are considering or are interested in UK research and development, please do take time to speak with our DBT colleagues on the ground. I am looking forward to working closer with Kuwaiti partners in the future. And thank you all for your attention this morning. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Julia. That was inspiring speech and comprehensive. I don't know if you hear me. Oh, probably we are muted here. No? Can you hear me, Professor Julia? No, she cannot hear me probably, but that's okay. Is it from our side or from their side?
Ma'am, can you hear us?
Oh, I can hear you, yes.
Okay, so I would like, on behalf of everybody in the room, to thank you for the comprehensive and insightful talk, and I will open the floor if any questions for Professor Julia from the audience. Doesn't seem so. Okay, in this case, we thank you. Normally, we give a trophy as a token of thanks to the speakers. So we will give this on to you through one of the colleagues of the embassy here. And we thank you for your time at the early morning. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye now.
And now, as a token of appreciation for our keynote speakers, please welcome Professor Khalid Al-Baqain on stage. And now, please welcome Engineer Mash'al Al-Zayed, NCSC Kuwait, to receive his award. And now, please welcome on stage Mr. Dominic Jankowski from the British Embassy on behalf of Professor Julia Sutcliffe. Thank you, everyone. We will now begin the coffee break on the second floor, and we will be back here at 11 to start the first session of the conference. Thank you. We shall now start the first session of the conference around the topic of privacy, AI, and cybersecurity regulation. Now, please welcome on stage our first speaker of the session, Mr. Gerard Buckley, UCL PhD cybersecurity candidate, University College London, UK. Thank you.
Thank you. So, yes, my name is Jared Buckley, and I'm a final year PhD student at UCL. And the presentation I'm going to give you now is a quick summary of a paper that was just published last month in the Computer Law and Security Review. So by academic standards, this is very fresh. And in fact, around May time, when I was submitting it, I first came across what was going to be the theme for this conference, the AI frontier in cybersecurity, balancing innovation, ethics, and privacy. And I thought, there's a pretty good overlap here, because if we look at the read-through, privacy, well, we could be talking about privacy all day in terms of its meaning and its history. But for our purposes, we're talking about data privacy or data protection. Ethics, well, we're talking about what a society thinks is right or wrong, what are their norms, they get translated into laws, and then those laws at a granular level become regulations. And then finally, we have innovation. And generally speaking, innovation is about improving processes or inventing something new. Dare I say it, disruptive technologies like AI. And that generally is regarded as being positive. But what I liked about the title or the theme for the conference was the way the organizers had put balancing in front of it. And I thought, aha, now this is getting a bit more interesting, because the moment you put balancing in front of it, it makes you ask yourself, well, what interests are at play here? Because typically, new disruptive technologies are great for the inventor or the inventing company or the inventing country, but they can have all sorts of disruptive effects on fair market competition and create all sorts of externalities in society. And so when we think about this, that's why we tend to have these general regulations, principle-based, that are nice and flexible to be able to address these big problems. And in the case of privacy, that's why we've come up with the General Data Protection Regulation. And at the moment, this still, in the absence of the US not being able to get out of its perpetual political logjam, this is probably the premier data protection regulation in the world. And how it evolves will affect all of us. And I just thought, you know what, it'll be very interesting just to try and think about, well, how is it going to evolve in the future? And my answer is it's all a question of politics, pace, and punishment. So at this stage, if you're not interested in this, you can go, because that's the answer. If you are still interested, let me just carry on. So, how do we think about the future? Who knows? But there are lots of techniques out there. And today, what I'm going to hone in on is scenario inquiry. Let's try and imagine some pictures of the future so that we can just stretch our assumptions. And to get to there, I'm going to hone it down to 4 lead indicators. And these are 4 lead indicators that you can take with you after this conference, and in a few years' time you can say, was he right? What's happening with these lead indicators? And to get to them, I'm going to use a PESTLE analysis framework, which is a framework that has been common in management consultancy and marketing for decades. But I find it's very uncommon, in fact, in the information security world. So let's start with the big picture. And the big picture, as far as I'm concerned, is that actually there is a global consensus that privacy in the digital world deserves protection. But what's different is the approaches that are being taken. So in the US, you have this light overlay of federal and statewide data protection laws, and they're very weak. And in fact, what happens in general is that it's left to the market to self-regulate. And that's the who, and the how is through the notice and consent paradigm. In China, it's the state that does it, and the state does it through multiple regulatory authorities. If you get on the wrong side of them, you will be amazed how many there are. And the how is the DSL and the PIPL, and the PIPL was roughly modeled on the GDPR. And then finally, we have Europe. And in Europe, you have supervising authorities or data protection authorities, and they are at arm's length regulators. And they really are at arm's length. They're at arm's length from their governing, from their national governments, and they're at arm's length from Brussels. And there's just a dotted line between them and the EDPB, the European Data Protection Board. And in turn, the Commission just has somebody with observer status on that board. So they really are quite autonomous. So now if we have a look at the PESTEL analysis, if you're unfamiliar with it, I'll explain what it is. So PESTEL stands for political, economic, sociological, technical, legal, and environmental. And today I'm not going to talk about environmental, and I'm going to squash politics and economics, because by and large, one follows the other. The bigger trading bloc is the rule maker, and everyone else is the rule taker. And in the US, we've already touched on it. All I really want to say, I guess, is that what's curious about the US is that civil rights and public goods are often portrayed as being protected by the private sector against misuse by the government. And so you have this curious scenario in our state in the US where consumers are subject to almost unregulated surveillance, and yet platforms have been very good at resisting surveillance by the government. By contrast, in China, you have a much stronger narrative for using data for the public good. Now, of course, sometimes that can mean they're using it to create credit scores that use non-financial measures of your worthiness. But you do have this curious situation where if you are a consumer, your rights are protected by the state against commercial surveillance, but citizens are subject to unrestrained government surveillance. And then in Europe, we try and square the circle. And we try and balance democratic data protection rights with still innovating. And Europe has at times sort of been almost accused of being not that good at anything except exporting regulations. And that's where the Brussels effect comes in. The Brussels effect refers to the idea that, in fact, taking GDPR as an example, not alone does it apply in Europe, but many countries around the world have mirrored its model. And the reason why, there are some very obvious reasons and some non-so-obvious reasons, but I don't have the time today to go into them all. But what it does mean is it gives the impression that GDPR is the global standard for data protection. But that's not really the case, because when it comes up against the US, it's a junior partner. And then it tries to do deals about how the two sort of interface. And what's happened is they came up with the Safe Harbor in 2015 and the Privacy Shield in 2020, or it might be the other way around. And in both cases, this young lawyer in Vienna called Max Schrems, he challenged them in the European Court of Justice. And he said, you're not being true to your own principles. And incredibly, he overturned both of them. And so Europe has gone back again now for a third time, and last year they announced a new privacy framework. And that's being challenged again by Max Schrems. And so at the moment, the jury is out. Now, why does he win each time? Well, at the base of it is called the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, Section 702. And effectively what it says is that US citizens can enjoy a constitutional right to privacy, but not non-US citizens, i.e., the US reserves the right to snoop on all of us. And it also reserves the right to snoop on US citizens if they are in cahoots with foreigners, say, for example, perhaps Russians interfering in elections. And lo and behold, one of those people who was subject to the FBI a few years back investigating them was one Donald J. Trump. And so you've had this very interesting scenario happen earlier this year where the FISA Act is usually rolled over in a bipartisan basis every 5 to 10 years. But because the Donald had been personally affected by it, there was a real risk of him actually blocking it. So in the end, what they had to do was this is not in my paper, by the way, this is quite new. They had to agree with him that they would only renew it for 18 months. So it sunsets again in 2025, by which time Donald, expects to be in power and he can review it again. But the more general point I want to make, and the first lead indicator, is we need to keep an eye on what's happening with cross-border data flow agreements, because these are the new battlegrounds of empires. So that was the politico-economic. Now if we look at the politico-social and the narrative wars around regulation in general, it's probably fair to say that big tech has had a complex and adversarial stance towards regulation for a long time. And you can read the slide. I'm not going to read everything, but I'm going to give you two examples. And it won't surprise you to know that big tech spends more on lobbying now in Brussels and in Washington than Wall Street does. And two very, very recent examples are the APRA and the catchy SB 1047. So the APRA is the American Privacy Rights Act. This was sort of like a GDPR light that had bipartisan support and looked like it was going to be adopted earlier this year in Congress, until it got close to the day it was going to have its first committee hearing. And then the lobbyists got to work on it. And they managed to delete so much out of it, they managed to gut it so badly, that even the civil rights organizations that were supporting it in the end said, enough, kill it. And the other example is the SB 1047, which is otherwise known as the Californian AI Act. And this had approval by the Californian legislature up to the end of September, and it just needed sign-off by the governor. And guess what? On the last day, he vetoed it. But it's not all doom and gloom, because there has been a shift. And that shift, there are at least three bases to it. The first is consumers are becoming more mistrustful of surveillance capitalism in general. And multinationals are finding that governments are beginning to intervene more. And it really is becoming a bit of a pain, because they'd like to be able to predict what they will intervene about. And in fact, maybe we do need a global standard. And then finally, we're beginning to see competition in privacy virtuousness, as I call it, i.e., Apple nowadays likes to actually say, hey, we're a hardware vendor. We sell phones and an ecosystem. We're not like Facebook. We're not like Google. We're not after your data. So I would liken, at the moment, the attitude of big tech to St. Augustinian's prayer. Yes, St. Augustinian's prayer, which might not be familiar to most of you here. But this saint is very famous for a one-liner which goes, "O Lord, make me chaste and pure, but just not yet." And I think that's what it's like at the moment with big tech. They do want it, but they would like to actually put it off. And so the second lead indicator, I would say, is have an eye on the politics of the narrative war. And the narrative war is the regulation stifles innovation. Next, if we think about the technological landscape, GDPR is 10 years old. Now, why do I say that? Well, if you go into the weeds of how it got conceived, the real impetus was, in fact, the Snowden revelations back in 2012. That allowed a number of key politicians to finally push it through Parliament. The text was agreed in 2014. It was approved in Parliament in 2016, and then companies had 2 years to actually get ready for it in 2018. There is no mention of AI, nor IoT, nor blockchain in the GDPR. And actually, funny little point, there's no mention of privacy either in the GDPR. The only place you'll find privacy is in a footnote referring to e-privacy directive. And there's also, it's also showing its age in other places to do with big data, which I won't delve into now. And then, of course, we now have the new EU AI Act. And nobody still quite knows how that's going to work out. But what we can be sure of is that we're going to go through a period of a global, messy patchwork of regulations that are going to lag AI. So in some cases, like in Europe, they're trying to front run it. by saying these are use cases that we really don't want you to do, or if you do them, you will be subject to higher levels of fines. And then in the US, it's all a little bit more woollier. And this will lead to arbitrage. And we can see this already happening because Microsoft has been using data from LinkedIn and Facebook has been using data from Instagram to train their AI until people found out about it in Europe. And then they were able to hold up the GDPR flag and say, hey, you can't do that here. So the third indicator, I would say, is keep an eye out on how the principles and guidance will be adjusted. And this is what I mean by pace. So it's not so much that GDPR has to be rewritten, because it's got very sort of vague at times and high, lofty principles. It's the guidelines that go with it. And then last, I want to talk about the L, the legislative landscape. So pre-GDPR, fines, as one person said, were peanuts. So for example, going back again to the interference in the American election in 2016, Cambridge Analytica were the company at fault. And in the end, the ICO, that's the UK privacy regulator, threw the book at them. And what did that mean? They fined them £500,000. And why was that? Well, that was the maximum they could fine them at the time. If it had happened later, they could have fined them, in theory, up to 4% of their global turnover. Sanctions serve diverse purposes. And as you can see here, there are lots of them. But at the end of the day, what a lot of research has shown is that it's the fines that sort of focus the mind. Because you can boil down what regulators do into, they either tell you, stop doing something or else, start doing something or else, or here is the or else. And the or else is they fine you. Now, that then depends on how it's enforced across Europe. And what you find is that DPA enforcement varies wildly, absolutely wildly. And in fact, I have another paper on why it's so wildly. But I mean, generally speaking, it's to do with the fact that regulators all have different histories. Some are brand new, some have been around for a long time, some have been set up for just data protection, some have many other responsibilities, some have big head counts and lots of resources, some are very small, some are very confident in their role, others don't know whether their government will support them or not. And then it's also complicated by the one-stop shop mechanism, and that's the mechanism by which for multinationals, if anyone makes a complaint about them anywhere in Europe, it gets fed back to the lead supervising authority where their European headquarters are. And generally speaking, for all the big guys, it's in Dublin. So if we look at the fines by value, well, Ireland is just like streets ahead of everywhere. But if you look at the fines by the number of fines per country, it's a completely different picture. Spain and Italy are way out there. And just as an aside, I had a look at the ICO for the UK before I came out to see how many GDPR fines they had issued in the first half of this year. Anybody want to have a guess? 2. So, the final lead indicator is all about harmonizing robust enforcement. And at the moment, it's not very well done. So, this is a summary of those 4 lead indicators. I'm not going to repeat them all again, but what you can easily imagine is that they have at least 3 end states. There's either the status quo, things happen as they are now, or say, for example, in the narrative war, it becomes even more pro-innovation, or it becomes more pro-regulation. And so if you've got 4 indicators with 3 end states, unbelievably, you end up with 81 combinations, which is rather annoying when you want to do a 2x2 grid. So in fact, we had to come at this from a completely different angle and use abductive reasoning and say to ourselves, let's just cherry pick the interesting ones and then think around them. And so being computer scientists, we said, let's call GDPR today version 1. And so if we take version 1 and think about what's going to happen in the near future, well, if nothing much changes, there are proposals that are winding their way through Europe about how they can make the coordination between the DPAs better. things around deadlines and transparency and actually reporting some KPIs. Incredibly, there are no KPIs. They all report differently. And so you might have something that is a procedural improvement, but not terribly substantive. And we call that version 1.2. And then on the other side of the coin, you could imagine that actually Max Schrems doesn't win the court case this time around. And so the more permissive treatment of EU data in the US, am I okay? May become the norm. And that's not going to affect GDPR in Europe, but it could affect it at the margins around Europe. Next, let's now think about, let's just say things do improve, that the narrative war actually moves in favor of the EU, and at the very least, people are more sympathetic to it. The status quo remains the way. You're looking at me, have I gone over time already? Oh my God, okay, fine. So this would be a step change in GDPR. And then finally, if we were to think about going one step beyond again, where in fact, in the absence of the US getting its act together and coming up with its own data protection regulation for the US at the very least sort of says, okay, then begrudgingly, we'll do something similar. And you can sort of see a situation where Europe becomes quite a leader in this field because suddenly privacy first becomes the key differentiator. And companies start self-censoring and designing with privacy by design in mind. And then a really curious one would be the centralized GDPR, which would be that we decided, well, what if Europe just looked over its shoulder and thought, well, I like some of the aspects of what China does, like having national champions. And if the US is going to start going down the US first, America first route, what about the Europe first route? And you having something far more centralized where we have strategic national champions. But of course, that can introduce all sorts of other conflicts of interest. And then finally, you have what I would call the anarchy or Wild West version, where for a period of time, AI just develops in ways we could not imagine. And there will be a period of time where just regulations are just running after it to try and catch up. So in summary, this is a tabular sort of iteration of what I've just said. But when I submitted my paper, they said, no, we need a diagram. And so we had to come up with a diagram in the end. And when we did that, it actually threw up some very interesting thoughts. And that was, imagine the x-axis is stronger data protection, and the y-axis is stronger citizen rights. You can now see quite simply that with the versions 1 up to versions 2 are just progressions in what GDPR would affect in terms of being stronger at actually enforcing itself and giving citizens stronger rights. The C2.0 we put as a line because the trouble is the moment you have a national champion and you start preferring it for procurement, that's undoubtedly going to conflict with consumer protections. Over on the left-hand side, you've got the AI version, and enforcement is going to be weaker. It's bound to be. But the rights will get stronger over time, over specifics. And then you've got the US Lite version. But the thing I want to ask you is when you look at this diagram at the moment, you can see the pro-regulation quadrant, you can see the pro-innovation quadrant, you can see the commercial quadrant, and you can see the state quadrant. You've got to ask yourself, where would you put China and the US in this? Because China, as I said earlier on, is very good at protecting the interests of and the civil rights of its consumers against commercial surveillance. Whereas in the US, there isn't that much. And if you as a consumer in the US want to go after the state, yes, there's some state and federal laws. If you want to go after a private company, you rely on standardized contractual contracts. So in conclusion, you've got to ask yourself, do we think that data privacy concerns have diminished since 2018? And hopefully now you understand why I say that I think the evolution of GDPR is very much tied up to the politics of borders and narrative, the pace of keeping up to speed, and punishment. And which scenario do I think most likely? Well, we could do it in Q&A later on. You can ask me later on, or you could read my paper. And there's the QR code for the paper. And finally, I just wanted to say, I didn't write it on my own. These two gentlemen did it as well with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jared. Now, please welcome our second speaker of the session, Dr. Faye Mustafa bin Salama from the National Cybersecurity Center, Kuwait. Thank you.
There is another microphone. Okay, I think better. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hello everyone, and thank you for having me. Well, since I joined the NCSC, I've been focused on how can we raise our GCI, the Global Cybersecurity Index. The GCI is not only about, it's not about how often we get hacked. It's about our ranking in how we can handle any cyber incident or any cyber issues. To know that, first I should know where we are today or what is our position. And to do that, I should compare us with others. And I chose the GCC countries. As we have similar interests, similar locations, and similar cultures, and that makes sense, right? So, okay, I cannot see it only here, right? Okay, so this work is part of a scientific paper, which is currently under reviewed. But today in the presentation, I will focus on how I compare what I did exactly, and what's the main outcomes, what I recommend, what I suggest. But if it's published, inshallah, any countries can benefit from this to use the same methodology to how can they become leaders in cybersecurity in the GCI report. And also, I have noted that this report, I have stand on the previous one, the 2020, because I have submitted this before the recent one, 2024. Okay, so today in 15 minutes, inshallah, what we will say, we will talk about the methodology that I use, the landscape in the GCC, what is the key challenge and threat that face the GCC region or the GCC culture. And then we will end up with some recommendation and suggestion, okay? So what is the methodology I have been used? I use the analytical and the critical approach. So I have to be here. The critical approach that aim to analyze, that aim to see the subject from different perspectives. I use the data that is publicly available for me, like the government report, the academic studies, the official website for the government. I stand on 72 official sources in this study. Okay, so let's first compare between the GCC countries. As you can see, Saudi Arabia ranked first in the GCC rank and second globally, followed by UAE, second in the place second and fifth globally. Oman placed third and 21st globally. Then Qatar placed fourth and 27. Then Bahrain, 5th and 60 globally, and then Kuwait last and 6th and 65 globally. I tried to compare, to be honest, I like the previous one because it's more numbers, and the last report was just like tires and less numbers. So I tried to compare between the previous one, which is the 27, the first report, and the 2020. We can see that Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates, they improved. But on the other hand, Oman, Qatar, and Bahrain, the rankings dropped down a little bit. I like this part because it shows that cybersecurity is not only about technology, it's not purely technical. It stands on 5 pillars, which are the legal measurement, the technical measurement, the organizational measurement, capacity building, and cooperation. And today we will compare between these countries based on these pillars. First, when it comes to legal measures, which focuses on how effective the countries in this section, how they have laws and regulation regarding how to combat the cyber attacks or cyber threats, we can see that most of the countries are having a full score, 20 or 20, except Kuwait. It stands on, this is the legals that I found. Then you can read it in the paper if you want, inshallah, when it's published. This is how, you can see how it has different years of issues, different purpose. So I'm trying to analyze these in my paper. Also, this is the crimes, the laws that focus on e-crimes, and this is focusing on data protection. So some of them, they have laws, and others have it as regulation. So they are quite different. But in general, the more comprehensive laws and regulation around the internet and technology, the higher the country can score in this pillar. I found that this pillar is the most challenging pillar among them because, as you can see, no country is having a full score in this. Although Saudi Arabia and Emirates, they're having a high score, but they are still short to full score. When I read about it, I found that it stands on CERT, this computer incident response team. And here we can see some of the countries, they established CERT before the NCSC, or before having an agency for cybersecurity. When it comes to organizational measurement, it is mainly on having a strategy to follow and also having an agency like authority or center for cybersecurity. I found that here also many countries they are having a high score except for Kuwait and Bahrain. Then after that I realized that because they don't have still agency for cybersecurity, as you can see the year of establishment, so that makes sense. I think that this measurement or this pillar is I think it's easy because it's focused on how we have developing the humans like training, education, the campaigns, the events that we are doing now. And I think that most of the countries are having a high score in this. I have some suggestions like the awareness campaign, increase the research, the competition like the hackathon, doing something locally for our country. So that's make a weightage for this pillar. When it comes lastly for cooperation, which means how we deal with other countries and how we contract, sharing policies, sharing frameworks, sharing training and everything. I found that Saudi Arabia and Emirates are the only countries that having a full score. So I was wondering why. Then after that, I found that Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates, they deal with cybersecurity like a government level, which is not like the other countries. Here in Kuwait, we are working on that. So I think that we have to deal with cybersecurity as something that's very high, very important as government and countries level. Then the second thing in my presentation, which is the main challenge that faced the GCC, I used the word cloud generating to generate the main threats. And I have ordered this based on the most important. For example, first, as you can see, the main challenge is the skill shortage. So we need people in cybersecurity. We need those specialists in cybersecurity. Then, because we are transferring to digitalization, so this is a challenge, then we have to have laws that combat cyber crimes, also internationally, not only locally. Lack of female, so we have to have, I have trying to set many recommendations how to increase females, and I'm working on another paper as well that how can we increase female in cybersecurity. The technical training is insufficient because we have to work on that, how the training be adaptive. It's not just I bring training from abroad and to give it to our people, so it should be something that's to be in mind. I found only one study that compared between cultures, and that makes sense. We are different than other countries, so when we do any awareness or any training, we should put this in mind, that we are not like others, and we have to have something local for us. When it comes to threats, I choose two kinds of threats, the ransomware and the phishing. But I can summarize that the most targeted countries in the GCC is the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and Kuwait. Well, I have summarized some some recommendations. For example, I found that the more the internet we use, the more we've been hacked, or the more we are vulnerable to cyber attack. But in our study this assumption disapproved, because we found that, for example, Qatar use internet at high rates, 92, and Saudi Arabia low for all 64. But on the other hand, Saudi Arabia more targeted than Qatar, which means that this is not a factor in our study. Also, here I noticed something. For example, if you can see Oman was ranked 4th globally in 2017, but the ranking was 87, the ranking. Then after that, in 2020, it's dropped to 21st, but the ranking increased to 96, which means that cybersecurity should be a continuous process, and the awareness in general increase. So it's like a competition between other countries. So it's not about just the ranking, it's about to see the awareness in other countries. So the level of the awareness increase. So we have to work on this. The same for Qatar, if you can see, it was 25, then it dropped 27, but the ranking was 67, and it's raised to 94, sorry. So that makes sense that we have to work hard, not only the same to improve and to keep up with the development of technology. Also, I found that the more the targeted country, the more they are aware and to be proactive. For example, as I said that Saudi Arabia and United Arab Emirates, they were the most countries that are targeted, but on the other hand, they are having a high rank in cybersecurity, in awareness and being proactive in the GCC reports. Strategy vs having an agency like center, I see that having center or agency is more weightage than having just a written documented strategy. For example, Oman, I couldn't find any written documents about strategy, because strategy should be in mind and not something that's written and published online. And it should be a daily process and not just something written. But having an agency is more important and more weightage. When it comes to the skill shortage, this is a very, it's a global issue. It's not only something just in the GCC. So there is a lot of solution to this issue, and we have to work hard to deal with those IT people, how to increase them, how to improve them. And finally, the collaboration, as I said, it should be on a governmental level and not just between sectors or between departments. So we should deal with cybersecurity as something very valuable. In conclusion, cybersecurity is not just about protection, it is a strategy and a continuous process of research to ensure safety and progress in a rapidly advancing technology world. Thank you very much for attention. And if you have any questions. I don't know if there's any question. Yes, please. Yes, please.
Assalamu alaikum, Doctor. You mentioned you liked the previous report better because of the way they ranked the countries in numbers instead of tiers, or because I saw numbers in both. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, because the previous report was a lot of numbers, so I can't do it like a static site for analyzing it. The last one it's more about tiers. They're having less numbers. I just mentioned that countries' tiers, for example, now Bahrain, yani mashallah, they are from the leading countries. But when you go inside, you can find some numbers. But with the previous one, there's a lot of numbers, so it's good for research, that I mean.
Okay, so the tiers are not with...
no, I mean it's good for a researcher, not on the other side, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. Yes,
Doctor,
yes, I know. Yeah.
Doctor, the
Yes.
GCC means that protection for the Kuwait, like for all the countries in cybersecurity?
No, GCC stands for the Gulf, the countries, which is Bahrain, Kuwait. GCI is the Global Cybersecurity Index. I know it's confusing.
Yeah, I'm feeling confusing. But the GCC is more like
GCC.
protect for cybersecurity?
It's not to protect. It's like a ranking that shows how we are prepared to handle any cyber threat. It's not
okay.
Yeah. So you can find it. You can Google it, and you can see.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Please, there may be, for the GCC ranking, you saw that the number is more than 6. In one of the tables, you show a GCC ranking of 78.
Yes.
What does it mean? Is it like...
Yeah, I mean that the previous one, some countries having a less score in the ranking, but they were, globally, they were high because the overall awareness in the countries were at that time not that much. But today we can see the awareness increase. So that's why I mean that when I analyze this, that we have to work hard on this because the awareness raised. So we have to keep up with other countries, just not to keep stay as we are. Yeah. Okay. Yes, please.
Yes. Just one more question. Thank you for the talk.
Thank you.
I was wondering, with regards to the number of attacks that countries withstand or suffer. What is your view on the objectivity of these numbers?
The activity?
How objective these numbers are, in your opinion?
Yeah, I analyze this in my perspective. So I feel because we transfer to technology, so this number is normal because hackers. They're looking for what they're dealing with technology. So this is, I think, this is normal. So our responsibility is just to be aware and proactive. But the numbers is normal everywhere,
No, but I mean, is it actually an objective depiction that Saudi Arabia has X amount of attacks and the US is Y?
Yeah,
that's my question.
Yes, I analyze that because maybe there is what can I say it? Because the location, because of the let's say they are transferring to technology. There's many reasons. That's why I analyze in my paper. But because Saudi Arabia, maybe the size of the country, there is many assumption, but there is no facts, to be honest. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Jessie. During your conversation, you were telling that to increasing women in the space of cybersecurity. Would you like to give a more glimpse on that, actually? Do you think there is a gender parity or something like that? Or?
Again, sorry, I couldn't.
Increasing the women headcount in the cybersecurity space, would you like to give more glimpse on that?
Increasing what? Increasing the
women.
Yeah, I just talking with Professor Khalid about this. I have separate paper. It's only about how we increase female. So it's an issue because I was wondering why we have a good number of IT females in the field. They are studying IT, but where are they when they work? So, for example, in cybersecurity. So I couldn't. They are very rare, So I want to know why. Is that because they think that it's purely technical, or so this should be a separate work? So I'm working on it. To be honest, this point. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Faye, for a most engaging talk. Please welcome our third speaker of the session who will be joining us online, Sheikh Dr. Al-Anoud Al-Sabah, academic researcher from Research Journey Kuwait.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, I'm delighted to present to you a topic dear to me, cybersecurity and international relations. Cybersecurity is no longer a topic subjected to IT specialists. It has become a topic of public affairs and diplomacy. Cybersecurity has become an integral part of government national defense as well as foreign and security policies, contributing to the construction of cybersecurity as a new domain of warfare. This means that cross-border crimes such as hacking, espionage, and digital wars, catfishing, fraud, impersonating, ransomware, malware, causes mistrust among nations, affects diplomatic relations, escalates tensions, and causes economic disruption. The main concern of most nations is the protection of data of its citizens and the protection of its sovereignty in cyberspace. Now, cyberspace has become a contested political shaped space, divergent in interests, norms, and values. This means that the international community has to come together as experts, stakeholders, to come together and address cybersecurity or cybercrimes together. We have started with the Budapest Convention in 2001 with 68 nations, and Kuwait is not part of this convention. Then, of course, we have the UN group of governmental experts who work to deal with these threats since 2004, and this is an ongoing working group that keep meeting in order to deal with international threats coming from cyber, or the cyberspace or the cyber world. The development of cyber diplomacies and strategies and toolkits are also one of the relatively new domains that came into the cyber realm since 2004, as a result of the UN group of experimental work groups. We have also the Paris call in 2018. We have the Tallinn Manual. We have the inclusion of cybersecurity in international humanitarian law, which is very important for our world today since we see daily conflicts in Gaza and Lebanon with the deliberate bombing and use of technology to destroy infrastructure that could constitute war crimes or are war crimes. We also have the Best Practice Forum and the Cyber Tech Accord, which are two initiatives that the EU Cyber Diplomacy Toolkit also uses or collaborates with in its toolkit in cybersecurity or cyber diplomacy, as we name it. I would like to just shed light on the importance of such initiatives like Paris Call and the Tallinn Manual. Paris Call it was in a conference that was headed by Macron, the President of France, and the Internet Governance Forum of UNESCO. It called to face new threats and challenges by adopting 9 common principles to secure cyberspace. And the first of all is protect individual individuals and infrastructures, protect public space of the internet, defend electoral processes, the intellectual properties, the non-proliferation of malicious software, to protect the private sector of the economic espionage, and you have the life cycle security, the cyber hygiene, and international collaboration, and the definition of norms and collective protocol, and adopting what's called responsible behavior of the use of space. Of course, these are 9 common principles. However, sometimes the definition of what is responsible behavior could cause some misinterpretation between nations. And the Talon Manual is also another comprehensive document that brings education and practice together. It deals with many, many different topics dealing with cybercrime and international law. The most significant I'd like to highlight is the issue of sovereignty, jurisdiction, the applicability of international law responsibly, how to address cyber operations, and as I mentioned, the aspect of international humanitarian law as well, how the diplomats and consular services have been affected by such cyber crimes and how they could overcome them, and how to avoid any conflicts in land, air, water, and space, and also communication. Moreover, as we are talking about the importance of cybersecurity, the US, the UK have adopted their policies in 2009 as being pioneers in such a domain. China as well is one of the most important countries in the cyber realm, and they have their own cyber policy in 2010, and all this aims to enhance public cyber capabilities to deter and to cooperate. Now, as we began our discussion, how does cyber security impact or shape international relations? So the first impact we see is the creation of cyber diplomacy. And cyber diplomacy is the art and science by which nation groups or individuals conduct affairs in cyberspace in ways to safeguard their interests, promote political, economic, cultural relations while maintaining peaceful relations. This means that cyber realm has moved from an expertise field into the field of diplomacy. So it's a set of diplomatic practices concerned with broadly defining governance of cyberspace, and it is a new dimension for international relations, where MOFA is responsible for these dialogues and talks. So it became a diplomatic affairs. As we can see, the UK has its own cyber diplomacy ambassador. Now, speaking about cyber diplomacy and strategy, we have the threat analysis, international law, norms, rules and protocol, confidence building measures, international regional collective cooperation. I'd like to highlight Kuwait in this instant. CITRA was with following agencies and with following government agencies started a cybersecurity strategy in 2017 to 2020. In 2022, the National Center for Cybersecurity was established, and it was focused on raising awareness about cybersecurity, to cooperate with other government and private sector in Kuwait, and analyzing, of course, the threats to bring all the stakeholders on board, and then developed into international and regional collective cooperation. As the audience have noticed, there is an increasing and a relatively demonstrated interest in education, training, media on AI and cyber issues, which is a good indicator, which means they have been highly influenced by the awareness. Now, if you allow me to give a few minutes on one of the most comprehensive cyber diplomacy strategies that I have encountered in the research, of course, is the EU cyber diplomacy strategy, which calls for strengthening resilience by capacity building, builds trust by raising awareness and engagement, prevents conflicts by diplomatic settlements and dialogue, protects human rights freedom by restrictive measures of the use of space, promote multilateralism using cyber dialogue with partners. And of course, partners and initiatives are the ones I mentioned earlier. Most of those are part of the EU's comprehensive partnership and dialogue. Now, in the region, we have the Security for Arab, we have the Global Cybersecurity Forum, we have the Arab League New Cybersecurity Minister Council, there's the Shanghai Cooperation Organization International Code of Conduct for Information Security, we have the GCC Cybersecurity Committee, we have the NATO Cyber Forum, and we have the BRICS Working Group on ICT Sphere, and there are much more. Of course, each region has its own cybersecurity structure regionally, and these are a few that I would like to shed light on. The Shanghai Cooperation Organization have their own, and BRICS as well, and these two cooperations, due to the divide in the current international community and the different political blocs, they have not been accepted in the UN or have been more accepted in the Western sphere. However, in the East, they are very much welcomed. What we face as main challenges, as I noted earlier, sovereignty in cyberspace, no common consensus on what collective norms means, the international versus national law. Many nations have this issue, the applicability of cyber law and international humanitarian law. The geopolitics, as I mentioned earlier, the new political blocs. I don't think that the world today will be able to adopt one international law or one agreement that fits all. I don't think all nations will be able to join in that initiative fully. And different nations' approach to cyber, the digitalization level and capacity building is not the same. In conclusion, training on cyber diplomacy development for the public and private sector is still a need. A continuous participation in international, regional, collective cooperation has to go on. Strengthening bilateral cooperation with friendly nations and information sharing should go on and should continue, and we are very appreciative and grateful for our partners for their continuous support, investing in research and development and national capacity building, investing in local talents, supporting the initiation of new international agreements on cybersecurity. I put in between brackets a legally binding one, because as I said, this is going to be a very challenging point, but maybe one day we can at least agree on a few of the norms and we can take it further. Thank you very much for your time. I have stated the 4 sources I've used for my presentation. Thank you for your time and attention. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact researchjourneykuwait@gmail.com and the phone number below for questions. Thank you for your time. I hope to see you soon.
And now, please join me in welcoming back the President of KCST, Professor Khalid Al-Baqa'i, to the stage, who will be moderating the first discussion panel of the day.
Thank you, Lulwa. Thank you, everybody. Correction, I'm not here now as a president of the college anymore. I am I always try to come back to the roots. I've been always a researcher. I pride myself of being an academic. So during this conference, I am just one of the researchers, and I would love to say that maybe I learned something from the new ones. So in our first discussion panel, we chose 3 distinguished academics to be loyal to the theme of the conference. They are all have academic background. The first to invite to the stage is Professor Omar Rana. I mentioned Professor Omar in my talk. Omar, are you here? He's as usual, shying in the back. Professor Omar Rana is a professor at Cardiff University, UK. I have known for many, many years. The age probably will tell how long we know each other. He is also Dean for International for Physical Sciences and Engineering College at Cardiff University. He's also a strategic advisor, board of the UK Research Institute International. Research interest, I can list hours about what I know about Professor Omar Rana. He has been a pioneer in many technologies, communication and artificial intelligence, everything that is new. Visiting professor at many universities in China, in Malaysia, and in Saudi Arabia, as well as contribute to significant initiatives in the UK. Professor Omar, you may have the opportunity to talk more about please come to the stage. Our second panelist, she presented already, so you know her a lot, but I tell you a few information. Actually, I was trying to think about what I know about Dr. Fay bin Salama, because my secretary forgot to print the piece of paper, but then she came back. But we know that she got her PhD from Plymouth University in the UK, so another connection. And she was the first in Kuwait to get a PhD degree in cybersecurity. Dr. Fay works, of course, as you know now, in the National Cybersecurity Center, and very active in making sure that we know about why female are not there. We will ask you about that, Dr. Fay. And I knew her first time when she was awarded, actually, the Researcher of the Year in 2023 in a conference where we were together in Cyber First conference. So welcome, Dr. Fay, to the stage. The third panelist is a colleague of mine. We're very proud of having Dr. Basil Othman. Again, another connection with the UK. He got his PhD from the Montfort University in the UK in computer science. Dr. Basil has been instrumental in bringing cybersecurity expertise both at academic as well as professional level. He was a co-founder of one of the main companies in Kuwait, Kuwait Hackers, as well as very active of the community in all aspects. He put a list of organizations he is member in, many organizations, international as well as local. So thank you very much for although I made a few questions to the colleagues, but I will start with asking a difficult question rather than speaking about the generic things, because we know that cyber started in the 90s. I remember my first project with a student in Jordan where we created a worm at that time, worms and viruses, and these were the very beginning of the cyber world. How we remember all these, we go through the development that came all the way. my question to you, because you are researchers and researchers always look to the future. So I want to ask you, what do you think the future brings? What will you think will be the biggest threat in 5 years from now? So Dr. Omar, you are, so I know it's speculative, but I would need to have your thoughts about the past as well as the future.
Thank you very much, Professor Khalid Bagain. So wonderful to be here. I think that the landscape that I see in terms of future technology is quantum is going to be very big. I think we're just at the beginning of what not just quantum cryptography, but quantum computing will do. So I think that many international governments are making huge investments into quantum. I think that's one aspect of the work. I think the other major aspect that we observe is in semiconductor technologies. So understanding how we could have certified semiconductors that sit within different components that we make. So semiconductors, the game is changing very rapidly. The transition of semiconductor technologies is moving towards the eastern part of the world. And I think understanding how we can trust the semiconductors that sit within virtually all the electronic components that we make use of is going to be a very interesting perspective going forward. And finally, AI is of course going to completely change the game. I guess the question is that many regulators, and we had a very interesting discussion earlier, what AI means for regulators is going to be very challenging because we don't really know what AI algorithms are fully doing. And explainability of AI is still at a very early level, and trying to regulate something we don't even know what's going on is going to be a real significant challenge.
Thank you, though. Speaking after Professor Omar is always difficult. He is he's ahead. However, I think we will all have different perspective, different things. So Dr. Fay, what do you think, where we are going with cyber in the future?
Well, I think that everything will be much more difficult and convincing. I think that we need to sit with you. I want to see that you are a real person or you are generated by AI. Because AI powered now, everything like the attacks that are driven by AI, like especially those social engineering that created convincing video clips and audios. So even the savvy tech people, it will be hard to distinguish between real and the fake. So I think that here, like, we have to work hard on this, and we have to raise the number of cybersecurity people, also those working in awareness. So I think, yeah, everything will be much more difficult, much more convincing, and I think it will be scary. Yeah.
Absolutely, I think this is a point for the future, is to defend against someone. You need to know whether the person is real.
Yeah, come to me. I want to know exactly if you are real or not.
Yeah. I think that we hear a lot about incidents nowadays where people get fraud.
Yeah.
Because they are not prepared for this. And with the improvement of AI, as
they don't know that the new techniques are being used. So they have to know. We have to teach our people that there is a new techniques that's now that hackers use to trick people. So they have to know. We have to go to them. We have to raise their awareness in this aspect. So I think it's a responsibility, you know. Yeah.
It's amazing. In the past, they used to tell us, don't believe all what you read.
Yeah.
Then they said, no, don't believe all what you hear. In the future, don't believe all what you see.
You see, yeah. And listen, that's why, it will be much complicated and difficult.
Complicated.
Yeah, yes.
Amazing. Dr. Basil, I hardly left you anything to say, but I'm sure you have.
Yes, of course. Yeah, as I agree with Dr. Afay and Dr. Omar. I'm working in. You said it's the future is to be working in post-quantum. I am working in the quantum projects here in Kuwait, and we are working in the quantum security projects based on the QKDs. Quantum key generations, so to secure all the transactions that are based on, let's say, the governmental transaction. If we would like to secure and using cryptographies to make it more quantum cryptographies, algorithms to be more complicated to decrypt it, let's say, for all the transactions. So yeah, it is the future for the next era. Yeah, in cybersecurity centers we are working on that one in KCST, and we are collaborating with many researchers to do quantum security projects. I think this is the future for the next few years for Kuwait as well.
Absolutely. I think the more connectivity we have, the more devices there will be, the more points of attack for the attackers. And the IoT now is labeled IoT. There were reports about 50 billion devices, connected devices. They used to say in 2050. Now everybody, they say this number will be even earlier. It might be within a few years that we have this 50 billion connected devices. And to protect all these devices is definitely something will be a huge challenge. Following on this point, so these are the challenges. So the challenges that we think that the future will bring. So now let's look at the other side of how to protect against the challenges. And I will change the order so that I'll give some people to say the things for the first. So I'll start with Dr. Fay, so that how we see ourselves defending ourselves against these kind of future challenges. Because we are always in a kind of reactive mode to defend what we know is there. Yes. How can we think about defending the unknown? So what do you think?
Well, because my interest is the human factor, so maybe I'll focus on this because when I started my cybersecurity project in 2019, I went to the part of a human factor, because I believe that even if you have a strong system, the small mistakes, this will be like a challenge for IT people. So how can we help those IT people? How can we be the first defense, not a weakest link in cybersecurity? So I think that from my perspective is to focus on a human, how to raise their awareness, how to educate them properly from early stages. It's not only a one time. For example, I see that many works that only one training once in their lives. So it should be continuous process, and it should be like a daily routine in social media and everywhere in radio. So this should be a continuous process. I know it's challenging, but we should work on that. We should work to increase these, and not only at one time, and only, for example, only in October, for example. No, it should be all the year. So I think that sense,
I cannot agree more. I think you spot on. There is no worse than someone, a professional with a degree, a 5 years old degree in cybersecurity, because 5 years ago, my degree is in communication engineering in the 80s. I used to go to this kind of huge switches that as big as this room. So here I rely on the knowledge I gained in my degree at that time. It's useless. So continuous upgrade of knowledge is definitely.
And also my background is mass communication, and I'm happy to share this, to how to communicate. Everything should be communicated. So communication is the key. So how I communicate this knowledge. So I have master in IT, and how I combine these two knowledge. And then a PhD, so it's the key is how we communicate this knowledge to other people that with non-IT background. So it's challenging,
So that we establish that human factor is the best way of defenders, making the people really prepared for it. Professor Omar, so technology-wise, how do you defend in the future?
Yeah, so I fully agree. I think human factors is going to be a major issue. I think we should all be very skeptical about what we see online. I think that it's very much that cybersecurity is a shared responsibility. It's not just about Kuwait's National Cybersecurity Center. It's all citizens in Kuwait understanding what cybersecurity means. I'll just tell you a little story. My father used to work with Kuwait Airways, and he started as an engineer in 1974. When he was about to retire, he moved into human factors. And the very interesting story he told me was, the best way to fly a plane is to have a pilot and a dog. The idea is that when the plane is in autopilot, the dog will prevent the pilot from touching anything, and the aim of the pilot is to feed the dog, right? Because you need to have that human factor approach. Ultimately, the more we automate, I think we all are cybersecurity. We all need to understand what core cybersecurity means, because we need to be very skeptical. We need to understand when we get phishing emails coming to us, when we have WhatsApp messages, we have Twitter messages, and we have a tendency to click on those links. I think we should be very careful what we do online and be aware that, exactly what you said. Yeah.
So, Dr. Basil, what can you add to this?
I don't have anything to say. But, we have to add something related to cybersecurity, human factors with our students. If we can say they can add many values within, when they educate themselves within the cybersecurity scenario case attacks. As you see in lab, we have red teamings and blue teamings, defendings, and how the students, they can perform such a scenario case attack and how they can react. So we give them the simulations to the real world to deal with such type of attacks. And we can test them and evaluate them, how they can react with a real life scenario case attacks. Let's say if someone reset the password for 6 or 10 times, what's the procedures they have to follow to proceed to protect this account from hacking? So yeah, this is in general how we can deal with it.
Actually, this is great because this is linked to what I wanted to follow on with the discussion. It's about looking at human factor. We are talking about the human factor, and so a lot of employers come to blame that we are not prepared. You are a PhD holder, you are a professor, you're all educators at universities. And we want to look at what kind of skills really we need to give to our graduates coming from universities so that they become suitable to the work or to the expectation of the work. So what do you think, what are the key skills, both in cyber and otherwise, that a graduate should have as they go? And we have many students here. I hope they are listening so they can learn from this. So, Professor.
Yeah, so I think that cyber is we should realize that cyber is not just a technical issue. I think we should start there. That, the idea that the concept of ethical hacking is all very good and useful, and I think we should definitely teach those skills. But cyber is much broader than that. It's about legal issues around cyber. It's about, the social issues, as you said earlier, both of you mentioned that. I think we need to understand the broader impact that, cyber is not just like designing a game or doing computer graphics or doing databases. It's actually something that sits across a whole variety of things that we do in society, whether it's online banking, virtually every kind of thing that we have today has a core cyber layer within it. So I think that even if you're not a computer scientist and you don't have that kind of interest, you can still be part of the cybersecurity area. And I think that as universities, we need to recognize that, people bring in different kind of skill sets to the cyber domain. And we need to ensure that those skill sets are somehow reflected in the everyday activities that impact cyber. And I think that as universities, it's not just about one area or one. So we really need to teach cyber, but through different lenses in the different courses that we do.
Thank you. Dr. Fay, in your talk, you presented the framework for the GCI. There are multiple. Yeah. It's not, you have the legal, all aspects. So from your perspective, skills related to this that contribute to the GCI, what do you think we should teach our students?
I have asked my advisor the same question because I started cybersecurity in 2019, to be honest. So I asked her, where shall I start, from where? So she said, be excellent in one programming language. So I chose Java, to be honest. Then after that, because we're talking about theories, PhD, so I feel why. Then I realized now, because I'm teaching now in KTech, at KTech. So the first subject they gave me programming. So I'm teaching now programming language. So they asked me as well, the students, Dr. Faye, how can we start in cybersecurity? They're still foundation level. So, and I asked them, who's cybersecurity? Who will be cybersecurity? Almost, let's say, 95% of them, they raise their hand, they want to be cybersecurity. So they have passion for cybersecurity, but they don't know how to start. So I give them the same advice, but I add something from my mind. So I said, be excellent in one programming language and have passion and patience. So having passion for something is key. So if you have a passion because you are dealing with technology, so something is, so you have to keep up. So you just not only I'm having this course and I'll be expert in cybersecurity. No, you have to keep up with technology, to keep up with learning. And I said to them, I'm still learning. I'm still taking courses, and I'm still I have a lot to learn. So this is the key: is you have passion for this field. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Passion keeps the fire on,
Yes.
and the learning and the desire to learn forever. And
Of course.
I think this is
And
the
nothing
key
can
to success.
stop you. Now you can take it from online. You can take it self-learning. You can read about it. So nothing can stop you. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if I speak about skills, nobody can talk about cyber skills than Dr. Basil. Dr. Basil is leading our academy that I was talking about, giving Kuwait as an army of cybersecurity experts. But tell us, what are the key things that you concentrate on, Dr. Basil, when you teach the students, especially on professional level?
Yes. As you know, Professor Had, I always encourage my students to build their professional certificates, let's say, focused, tailored roadmap. It depends on their passion, as Dr. Rafay said. If they would like to be a certified incident handler, so they focus on how to handle incidents. And if they are working on the SOC team, they would like to focus on threat huntings or dealing with the analyzing malware or something. They have to take such courses like CSA certified SOC analyst. And if they don't have, they would like to discover their more talented skills. They can start with CEH, Certified Ethical Hacker. Then they can move on to the next step to be focused on. And by the way, we can certify them with the exam. So they will get the skills during the workshop. Then they move on to the next level to test the exam, and they have to be certified from EC Council. So this is my way. Of course, we have the academic way to educate them. We teach in KCST 3 main courses: information security, cybersecurity, and network security operation, which is mainly on SOC, which means security operation centers, and how to deal with such cybersecurity incidents. And we give the capabilities to our students to enhance their incident response skills during creating, me and my colleagues from cybersecurity lab, Engineer Isa and Engineer Yamama, we create more than 60 scenario attack cases to allow them to understand and how they face and what are the technical background they can face it out during the real attacks happen.
It's amazing. And you see, the panel has been perfect. Talking about it from Dr. Omar Rana, giving us that it has to be awareness of generic awareness. Dr. Fay specialized to have passion, and the passion can be in any area of that related to cybersecurity. And Dr. Basil is giving you those who want to become specialists, who want to become the cutting edge, what are the kind of skills. So basically, it's covering everything. And I was amazed in this morning with the discussion with Dr. Barki, who said that he attended a session with Dr. Basil in Riyadh, a big conference there, and they were talking about cybersecurity and psychology. And because you think cybersecurity is becoming part of everything. And to be loyal to the theme of the conference, I want to ask my questions, because the conference, when it started, we started with the idea of embedding cybersecurity in education at all levels. And this kind of thinking should start from the beginning, from where the children are at the age where we can give them a lot of knowledge in a very quick way. So I want you to ask your thoughts about, because we have here school teachers, if you can give advice to school teachers, how can they start this cyber awareness at school level? Not at CEH level, but at so. And we have expertise here from UK University. Of course, I forgot to say at the beginning that Professor Omar Rana is very connected with Kuwait. He was born in Kuwait, actually. so he's very proudly connected with Kuwait, and he comes very much to Kuwait. So you know the schooling system is Kuwait as much as you know the schooling system in the UK, Professor Omar. So I'll ask you briefly about your advice to those who teach the young people on how to get them into cyber awareness and interest in cyber in the future.
Sure. So I think that, it goes back to the concept of, we're all cyber citizens, whether we like it or not. Because the moment you open your banking app, the moment you, watch television, the moment you go to the internet, you are part of the cyber world. And I think that our children are even more so with interactive gaming. So things like Roblox, I don't know if you know Roblox. Roblox has 500 million active users per day. Think about that for a minute. These international gaming platforms. So I think the question is, right, that we need to increase cyber awareness first. So as you said, Dr., that it's about understanding incidents and how to respond to incidents. But it's just being aware of, things that you might have. So basic cyber awareness and what I would call cyber hygiene is really crucial at all levels. And I think that being understanding of, what kind of incident and teachers can play a very important role in that, is trying to understand, what does cybersecurity mean on an everyday basis? When children interact with online content, online media, what does it mean? Of course, we won't even go to fake news, because fake news does not directly respond to cyber attacks, but fake news is a part of that. Because when you get information, when students do, with generative AI, when you're using ChatGPT, which virtually every children use, we tell our university students not to use, but virtually everybody uses generative AI. What generative AI is telling you may not be true, but that's also an element of cyber there, because you're utilizing content which may not be true. So if you build your argument on fake content, that should be part of the cyber hygiene too. Yes. So I think we need to teach it at all levels.
Absolutely, thank you. Dr. Fay, you in your talk, again, I always refer to your talk, I liked it so much. You mentioned about female.
Yeah.
Isn't it the right way to start at school level? And how do you advise at this level?
Yes, to be honest, I was always wondering, because in my master's degree, it was in Kuwait University, it's IT, master in IT. So we almost, most of us female, but when I entered the work, where are they? So why they studied technology, but in reality, they are not here. So I was wondering what's the problem and why they are less in this area. So so now I have another paper, as I mentioned, that how can we increase, how can we tell them that cybersecurity is not only about technical or coding. So you can work in, for example, like me, I'm doing like awareness, I'm raising awareness, I'm working on that, working in research, team building. So it's not only about, so this ideas that I think that need more to focus and to know their mindset, what the problem, why you study that, but you not do that as a job. So that's why I'm interested in this topic, and I'm still working on it. Yeah.
We all know needs a role model like yourself.
Thank you,
for the young school girls.
Yes, one of the solutions to have a role model, successful role model for a female. Yeah, one of the
I think Kuwait is fortunate when it comes to this. I know a few distinguished female cyber security. We have yourself, you have Dr. Reem Shemari, who's now awarded
leader of
I think international leader Arab World woman in cybersecurity.
So we're so proud.
And I know a few more that are really. So that
but we need more.
We need more to inspire this generation.
Yes.
So, Dr. Basil, a few thoughts about school now, not about CEH, please.
So, we need to add within the schools. By the way, this September, Ministry of Education, which is led by Ms. Muna Salim, she had a cybersecurity course within the computing ICT program for the grade 10. So they started out with cybersecurity and they injected with the Python. So at least some of the lectures that they teach them out, we teach them information security course as well in the beginning, but this is great movement from non-cybersecurity education to start up with the injected cybersecurity course during grade 10. If we move on, I agree, yes, Dr. Faye, is cybersecurity, if we talk about cybersecurity tools, it is 5 and it is completing each other. We cannot accepting one of them. So if we say cybersecurity tools, it is education, which we have educated people to kind of start the SOC, and they have to be trained, training with using some solution, the technology that they use it, the SOC team. The third one, which is the technology, the tools that they have to use it. Without the tools, we cannot move with the cybersecurity. The fourth thing is the awareness, and which is main part of cybersecurity, and we cannot skip it. And the last one is the GRCs and government regulations and policies. So to punish those people who are not aware. So this is completing each other.
Dr. Basil forgot to speak about something that he created in our lab, which is using games or gamification as a tool to teach cybersecurity concepts. Actually, we did it with high-level officials. The other day, we had a visit from the fellowship program from the UK Fellowship for Females in Cybersecurity. And even adults enjoy the games. So a way to make children interested in learning about cyber is to make it fun for them. And that was a fantastic game. I would like to open the platform if there are any questions from the participant, anyone who would like to ask. Yes, we have already a question there.
Thanks for the interesting discussion. Regarding your very first question about the future threat to cybersecurity, as Omar rightly mentioned, quantum computing and AI can be a threat. I would add to it, converged technologies can also be a threat. What I mean is, when 2-3 technologies that were originally developed for something else, and then their combination can be harmful or useful for the human beings. For instance, to give you an example, AI and quantum computing. So now these days, you can run machine learning. It takes hours, not sometimes even days to train model. But with the use of quantum computing, that can be done much faster, meaning that now the scammers can develop much faster and customized attacks and social engineering on victims in almost real time. It's not happening now, but it is very likely to happen. We need to be prepared for those kind of situations as well. And that includes financial fraud, especially non-financial fraud.
Can I just very quickly respond?
Yes, it is.
So I think that you're absolutely right. The rate of technology is so high that it's very hard to keep up. Today we have quantum and AI, quantum and semiconductors that can be combined. Conventional plus high performance computing plus quantum can change the dynamics. I think for me the question is, it doesn't matter what the cause is, how do we handle the consequences? The cause can occur due to many reasons. It can occur due to quantum technologies. It can be due to just somebody who's a ill-trained engineer doing something pretty stupid, or if I may use that word. But it's the consequences on our systems we need to deal with. So we call these cyber disturbances. So cyber disturbances is we don't care what the cause is, but what is the consequence. And that's why we need the social scientists. Because it's not just the computing people who understand the consequences, but the social scientists, because they bring in a different way of thinking. So we need to inject new ways of thinking in addition to new technologies. And that combination is really where we really need, yeah? I wonder what the thoughts are.
I think what you're talking about is cyber resilience. And resilience here, I don't mean by resilience, technological resilience, but maybe societal resilience. So we become, as you said, regardless to what kind of cyber attack or the cause of the attack, the society or the system can cope with that regardless, because we will never be able to follow what is the cause and how the attack will come and what kind of attack will come. So the best thing is to create an immune system to the body that can defend regardless to the cause of that. I agree with you. Yeah, of course.
The banking system, every time we see attack, we add some patches to prevent those kind of attacks. Now, if you have a kind of mental picture of the banking system, there's lots of patches. This is like unsafe and safe with lots of patches. And we are still with some more patches. So I totally agree with you, but I think
we all talk about futuristic. So even the real resilience is a futuristic approach is rather than. Yes, please.
Okay, my question is AI will be dangerous for the cybersecurity, I think. It will be for like cyber attacks. It will do like longevity. That's a question.
Yes, let me answer this question. Yeah, I appreciate your question. If you can't come tomorrow, there is one good sessions regarding the LLMs and using AI and the securing of it. Engineer Faisal Blushi, he will talk about how to secure or how the OWASP dealing with LLMs. So this is using with AIs, and it will be good opportunity to attend it.
Actually, I must tell you that one of the reasons why I did not emphasize AI today is that I want to leave some space for tomorrow. Will be a very exciting day, so I encourage you all to come. Tomorrow we focus a lot on AI and starting with the morning with a talk by Professor Marana, the first keynote, but followed by sessions where a lot of aspects of how AI will impact cybersecurity as well in both ways. It will help the attackers, but also will help the defenders And the panel tomorrow will be about the good side and bad side of AI. Will be led by Professor Haidar Ramadan. Fantastic topic. So we will not answer your question today, not to leave something for tomorrow.
Yeah.
I think we are always aware of time. So and it is the worst time to lead a session before the lunch. So I would like to stop here. I would like to thank you very much, Professor Omar Rana, Dr. Faye bin Salama, Dr. Bashar Atman for this. And thank you very much for staying with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for our most engaging panel. And now presenting a token of appreciation for our speakers and panelists, Professor Khalid Al-Baqain, starting with Professor Omar Rana.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Faye bin Salama. Dr. Basil Al-Uthman. And please welcome on stage Mr. Gerard Buckley to receive his award.
Let's have a group photo. We kept you to the end to wonder whether you get one or not.
Best to last.
Thank you for your time. Photo, please.
Group picture.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for your attention and time. We will now begin the lunch and prayer break, and we'll be back here at 2 to begin the second session of the day. Thank you. Lunch is the same place as the coffee break in the second floor.
The university I'm working with, because I can see lots of you from, student studying in different areas, and there are prospective students as well. So you can choose a better share for your career. And if you want to research, we are also engaging with lots of new courses. You can see cybersecurity, engineering, and many other courses. We have very good growth in recent years. You can see there are a few good rankings overall, like support and opportunities, feedbacks and satisfaction. So it's a good place to study. Also, we have some real hands-on experience that you can see. We have real-time skill that you can employ with different organization, can support with your different perspective employability team, with your letter and cover writing and this kind of opportunities. And we have like courses that offers with additional industry certification, which is very important. So the whole talk that we have seen, the importance of cybersecurity and other threats that emerging in different areas. So certification in well-known, organization will help you to understand this thing better, and will have developed skills that can be really useful in future, employability. So and we have fantastic labs and other facilities that you can explore. Brand new building that has tremendous opportunities. So lots of university advancement. Now I'm come back to the topic today. So as you can see, we are going to say about the industrial IoT. So about IoT. So about IoT, so we know that IoT is a physical device connection for internet, and that we share data, and which becomes a very, very important feature nowadays. So we can't go internet with a single day, and every device is now talking, sharing data information. So this is very important in industrial IoT, and used for manufacturing, supply chain, energy, logistics, and many other ways. So which enables like smart factories, predictive maintenance, asset tracking, automation, and very other. So if you can see here, sorry. So the figure here, you can see the growth in particular industries, especially in drone industries in North America, has really increasing. So which like more than 700 billion US dollars in 2020, and it has exponential growth expected in 2028. And you can see like drones are used many various ways in today's activities for tracking and automation. So this is brings a lot of challenges in our industrial IoT. So what are the challenges we have? So scale of devices. We have millions, billions of devices. So as I said, like not only mobile phones. So you have sensors with fitted, fridges, smart homes, smart offices. So we have every device almost talking, sharing data information. So scale of all this device is very, challenging, to protect from this security threats. So legacy system integrating old infrastructure with modern IoT. So that means you have an old system now because of the changes of technologies and also new updated items. So we need to connect. So it's very difficult to fit the old system with the new system, and especially for data sharing environment, it's very important to take measure of that. So another challenge is the lack of standardization. So which means there is no fixed model or standard that we can see. So everybody just doing their own bit protocols and they're just fitting with the model. So it poses a great challenge and risk to the system. Real-time constraints, securing systems with maintaining uptime and efficiency. So if it's real-time, that means it's live. So it's very difficult to monitor, secure live items and track things. So to get challenges as well that we have faced so far. If we look at the key security threats in industrial IoT, so we have these cyber attacks. So my previous speakers already mentioned different kind of cyber, like DDoS attacks, ransomware. This also happens in industries. And it's very, very crucial because it can stop the production. It can have massive loss, millions, trillions of dollars of loss can happen. So it's a great threat to the industry. Data breaches, so sensitive production, operation data is very important because everything is very competitive. So if the data is leaked, if the production information is leaked, it's very, very crucial that that should be safe and we maintain that from cyber attacks. Physical tampering, access of physical devices can compromise the entire network. So that means if someone can access the physical device or work as a middleman for another, considering the image of the device, so that can poses also a real threat. Weak authentication, so we don't care about the password sometimes, so we just use like default passwords and unsecured access points, so which really makes weak authentication and can pose security threats. So supply chain attacks, vulnerability introduced to third-party components. So supply chain is another big area where we have different contracts from the farmers to the industries, especially in business industry. So we do different kind of blockchain, we do smart contracts, so that make it digital. And for this reason, tempering of this is a really security challenges. So what I'm trying to give you here is like a general platform. I'm just going not much deep at the moment, so I'll discuss some of my PhD students' work. So if you have more questions, so we can go details, you can look at the papers or ask me afterwards later that questions. So I'm just considering as a general audience, and I'm just delivering this, but I'm happy to ask questions, take questions. So again, best practices for securing this IoT industry is one of the key is encryption. So if we can secure the hello. Thank you. Yeah. So encryption is very, very important. So most of the work that we are working in this area is encryption. So we use different kind of hash function, digital signatures, and doing cryptographic, things to have this secure practices in IoT. So also we encourage for strong authentication. So we have this multi-factor authentication for device and user access. So that means it can have two-factor authentication. You can see sometimes not only password is enough. So we ask for security passcodes through mobile phones, and other multi-factor authentication is used nowadays. So regular patching updates is another important thing that we need to do, because things are changes. So the hackers are getting smart. So if we don't think ahead of them, so it's very usual that they will cope up with the technology, and there's no point of this using this security measures. So we have to think ahead, and we have to do this updates and patches. So network segmentation is very important as well, because the more you make it central, it's very mostly the chances that it will be attacked. So if we do the isolation and do some like special network or like VPN, so we can safeguard for this critical systems to be, secure. So this is another possibility of doing for security measures. Device identity management. So this device identity management is very important. So we can use just maybe one device for unique authentication communication. So only that device is applicable or can authenticate to particular systems. So this is also another way to communicate. So this is one of my PhD students working on. It's an Internet of drones. So they're using, lots of works going on in IoT. And IoT in manufacturing is very, very important because it ensures the efficient and safe coordination of the drone swarms. So this is another way to optimize manufacturing, enhancing the performance of these with reliability and connectivity. And we are doing currently simulation. So simulation has also good advantage of making hundreds of scenarios and an advanced application with operational planning and things. So there are a couple of terms here that you can see here, that optimized Tesla, cross-validation, drone swarm for GNSS spoofing direction. So we'll just give you just some general overview, but I'm happy to, as I take question and go in depth. So I have papers on that. So these are just freshly cooked, not properly cooked, but freshly cooked results. So we're doing more research on this. So, so when we say about this Tesla, so Tesla is an, as you can see, time-efficient stream loss-tolerant authentication protocol. That protocol is used for WS and wireless sensor networks and IoT. And our goal is to optimize this Tesla, so which can have efficient, low computation and communication overhead, and we can have tolerance in the loss packet. So this is the optimized Tesla. Also, we are looking for GNSS spoofing detection. So this GNSS, or this global navigation satellite system, is very important. So if we can't avoid this spoofing, so which means it can be alter the position measurement, and it makes it unreliable, so which can be very, very dangerous, especially if it's a military operation or some kind of other attacks. So nowadays we can see lots of military attacks, and everything is happening through drone attacks. So GNSS spoofing is another important area for research. So what we are proposing here is a novel collaborative GNSS spoofing detection and mitigation system designed for specifically in drone swarms. So what is swarm? Swarm is, it can be animated or not animated group of activities together, like insects or some mass can be happened, but it happens something with drones. So as I said, like optimize Tesla for secure communication cross-validation techniques is our goal here. So an executive practical solution for securing the communication authentication of single drones or multiple drones operate in swarm is our goal to resilience against these drone-specific attacks. So what exactly we are doing here? If you can see here, so we have this GNS signal receiver from the drones, and then we have the signal processing that do this noise handling and other filtering. And then we have this feature extraction, which goes some machine learning techniques for optimization, and also we have all other authentication using Tesla protocol. So then when we have this optimization, so it comes to the design module for some kind of decision making, and then we also do this ACC or repetitive cryptography for some encryption, and then it decided whether is there any GNS spoofing or any other errors through Tesla protocol. If it's authenticated, then we propose a safe landing. This is some pseudocodes that been applied for this project. So there are different phases of algorithms. So this phase is just giving some idea about the neighbor collaboration, because it's a group of drones that been used for factories. So we have this resilient drone neighbors that be connected and authentication. So this is one example of that. This is another one for GNSS spoofing detection. Why is this happening to me? Second gone. Yeah. So this is the second phase of algorithm that helps to detect this GNSS spoofing. There's another phase of algorithms that the resilient drone authentication using Tesla. So we are using specific resilient drone authentication Tesla for this detection optimization. We have this simulation environment at the moment, as I said, that we are using Python. We are using libraries like NumPython. You can use any numerical computation availability languages for your simulation environment. So we use Matplotlib library for data visualization, and you can see some metrics used for this work. So there are like sets of results. As I said, it's not properly cooked. We are working on this. We are comparing with this. So hopefully we'll have some good journal publication on this, and the previous investigation will also have some publications, so we can look more deep into this. But in general, what we're trying to do here, we are trying to see like communication delay. So when you communicate between two drones, what is the delay between them? What is the average verification time between the drones? What is the network jitter? If we try to first authenticate with a drone, what time it takes, and this kind of things. Also, we have this K-chain generation time, which is very important because we use this applicable cryptography. So we change the K and it takes time to generation. So depending on that, it's also important that how optimized your Tesla protocol is. So K consumption is another one, how long it takes, and packet loss rate, how many packet lost when you do this authentication and data transfer, also average throughput. We can have this computational overhead as well, like how much extra bits you have sent in millisecond time, in bytes time. Yeah, I'm finishing. So, so in different drop packets, how many times you authenticate. So it's different parameters. So what we are trying to do here, we are trying to do some different measurements and see how it works. And finally, what we came so far as a result. So if we think about the average verification time, it did better with comparatively similar, similar research going on. You can see the papers. Also, considering the combination overhead, we had better results. And first-time authentication, we also have some good results. So, so in that sense, we can say that it's a good project that we're working on, and it's a good prospect. So I'd love to be, in touch with you regarding this research, and any question, you are welcome to ask. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Israfil. Actually, I have a question related to the IoT security of drones. That is, most of the drones, they are battery operated, okay? Or all of them like battery operated, as you know that. And implementing the machine learning algorithm or the deep learning algorithm for the security in the drones will consume much of your battery. So what do you think, how to solve this challenge?
Well, that's a very good question. Thank you for this. Depends how you're going to use it. So everything has its own application. So the data we are using for machine learning is to optimize the performance. So you are using your drones for factories. So if you're trying to use machine learning algorithms to analyze the data of this authentication, and you can reduce that kind of things. So that's a different aspect. But if you're thinking about that data to be secured, then you have this encryption method that we use, like applicator cryptography or different. So it depends on what is your priority. It's like a balancing things that you want to do in your system. But machine learning is there to help predict the right measurement, not to create more problems.
Sorry, excuse me, I have a technical question.
Yeah, sure.
Regarding your pseudocode illustrated in the first slide, yes. First, yes, in this slide, yes, I think you have compared with the threshold. If it's greater than threshold, so you make a decision.
Yeah.
So how have you decided the value of the threshold itself?
Yeah, that's, I didn't put the reference here, that's a mistake. The reference is one of the paper that we compare with. At the end, I have given the results. So they have used this the threshold that usually that happens. If that goes beyond that, then we have to detect these things. We have to, it's just, that's the thing that what we usually do as a reference. It's at the moment, it's just comparing the results. We are not suggesting. So when we have more details on, can come to more like concise value that we can refer. But we are comparing with other studies that have been done. Static value, sorry. Yeah. So we are at the moment. Static for particular areas. For instance, like for spoofing detection, so how many spoofing detection can do for a static threshold? Thank you. Okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Israfil. And now, please welcome our second speaker of the session, Dr. Tawfiq Al-Hadrami, Senior Lecturer and Researcher, Nottingham Trent University, UK.
That's me, yeah. Okay. That's okay. Who's this? Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name is Tawfiq Hadrami, and I'm from Nottingham Trent University. Today I'm providing a talk related to leveraging AI for enhanced cybersecurity solutions. So during this talk, I'll try to hit a number of topics actually related to AI and cybersecurity. What's the benefits, challenges, securing critical national infrastructure as well. Related to, I will take a kind of a case study related to power, infrastructure, and security. As well, if you want to use assistive AI as well, what's the benefits and requirement as well. Going through what we need for such technology and advanced technology for industrial control system. And a kind of what we call a common information model required as well as a framework to work on. As well, securing in power system was the facts and future trends as well. So security or AI in cybersecurity refers to the use of AI and machine learning techniques to enhance a kind of a security in computer system. As well, the goal of AI in general is trying to automate the process and as well detecting any kind of attack and trying to prevent it and mitigate a sort of issues and threats. So some of the ways of the AI can be used as well as like threat detections and preventions as well, malware and a number of techniques do we use. So the AI in cybersecurity is actually related to the prevention, network phishing, secure authentication. So a lot of things there to care about. And as well, AI in cybersecurity as a roadmap, we have kind of defined steps to go through. So improving like threats and hunting, as well strengthen the industrial IoT as well, and AI-powered as well automation, which is the main problem for most of the industrial with the sensitive applications. So this is a kind of a roadmap for those who wants to apply an AI in cybersecurity for their ecosystems. As well, AI as an application cybersecurity, which is to network security, any vulnerable management as well, password protection as well, and phishing detections and preventions. In general, a lot of challenges associated with AI in cybersecurity related to training the data algorithms as well, a lack of transparency in AI decision making, integration with existing security system and high computational requirement there. Ethical consideration, vulnerable to adversarial attacks as well, and any kind of false negative results, difficulty in ensuring reliability as well, and security in AI, difficulty in collecting and labeling sufficient data for training AI models. So a need for more ongoing monitoring and maintenance to ensure the continued effectiveness of AI system in any environment. Benefits of AI in cybersecurity is handling more data, and this is what it's about actually, is more data and how we can deal with the data effectively. And as well secure authentication, identifies unknown threats and learn more about the time, with the time, better overall security as well, and detections and response on time. Better vulnerability as well, and duplicative process reduce. This is a kind of benefits of AI in a system. To consider as securing critical national infrastructure, this is one of the cases that we're working with the UK regulators, gas and electricity. And to work in such sector, you need to convince the companies that they will benefit from using AI. So the main challenge actually here is how we can convince such companies to use an AI in their system. How they use AI to help to mitigate their issues with cybersecurity. So it takes a while to convince them that it will benefit well. So we need a sort of solution and proposal to convince them that it is not going to affect their system. So a number of things we have to consider when we start working with the power and power security is what's the kind of benefits that will reflect to that sector related to a staff within organization will be better in terms of preparing, as well to deal with cyber incidents, reducing the potential impact as well, saving money, downtime. A lot of benefits are there. As well, hybrid cyber platform developments. This is a kind of a proposal that we came with details later on, and the multi-stakeholder risk approach is there. So the industrial control system providing secure infrastructure to protect from cyber attacks as well to many things, combination and as well a kind of downtime as well, probabilities here, cost, and how they can come with a sort of comments for their legacy system and traditional system for more updates, and improve as well situation with awareness and logging and monitoring system. How is going to go with that? This is something need to be considered. So using assistive AI benefits as well for their system will provide a kind of allowing the automation of many tasks as well, and incorporate with operate knowledge as well based on learned information, provides a kind of control environment, as well ensure all AI solutions are being trained on data very well before they throw in the system. So the human is still there as well. So they have a kind of limited how they can control it. This is a different issue. So rather than those provide the kind of vendors will be more general. So not fully automated all tasks. And that's sometimes when you talk to the companies, they said, we need to make the AI more limited. So we still have a controls. We still a human being there. So it is a kind of limited AI. So it will, with these kind of benefits and applications, it's still a kind of requirement actually to make the AI working effectively in cybersecurity, in power, or in such even ecosystems. So by developing a kind of an AI policies for industrial control system, and this is something actually UK government are encourage their companies and regulators in the UK to have created on AI solutions to aid logging and monitoring system, train on AI solutions in real world as well as data, and develop all policies for learning enhancements as well, and develop an AI policy solutions and automated testing. So the proposal comes to some kind of company looking for a common information model known as CIM framework, which will be suitable to work in industrial control system. And this is to provide what we talked about in terms of providing a kind of standard for their system to follow and involve the AI without harming their system. And this is one of the problem actually they are struggling with. And boots a kind of usability of information as well in the real time, and monitoring data as well, accessible for improved system analytics as well, and increase the energy resources in the integration with the low carbon technologies, as well offering a kind of reliable and secure, low latency and different metrics that will affect and make the system more resilience, gathering kind of customers as well, greater control over the data. This is a kind of a framework that looking to enhance the power sector in terms of involvement of such technology, which is most of the company, as we said, about to refrain from using such technology in their system, although it is a bit old and more traditional system. So how they migrate it without affecting or making or creating a kind of gaps in their system for more kind of attacks and hacking in their system. So improve the digital process as well, improve the information exchange, improve the digital products as well, and business application. This will deliver a kind of transmission network application as well, and maximize renewable generation integration and improve the customer engagement. Deliver kind of real-time energy price information as well, and ensure the industry control system, data integrity, and cybersecurity. All of these are kind of requirements. So we reached to the conclusion that we might think that to update what we call a border model, which is a kind of reference and a holy reference for most of the companies they use nowadays in their ecosystem. So this is a kind of gave you an idea that at some point border model will need to be changed to actually absorb all the changes happen with the smart technology and smart techniques they use. So we might later on talk about something else new. So what is about, we're talking always about the AI, data, and cybersecurity. All of these are associated with together. So we need a kind of a common model to absorb and align with these kind of changes. This is the challenge actually, and this is, we have to convince such companies, especially the companies that are dealing with the sensitive application like military, like healthcare, like nuclear station, like power station, oil and gas, all of these kind of application to start integrate such AI and automation in their system. It is a kind of a risk. How to do that? This is a kind of solution which to a proposal with a number of companies in the UK, that we have to create a kind of a cyber platform, cyber range, cyber platform. This is a kind of tools or kind of replicating to existing information system. It will enable the companies to do a kind of pen testing, network protection system, hardening, incident response, and techniques, and as well procedures. So those kind of things will help the company actually to test it. So it's like a test bed, a separate test bed from their network, and they can do whatever scenarios they want. Later on, they can migrate it to their system after they prove that the result or the outcome is approved. And this is actually already one of the companies already stepped in to take a challenge. And we have a project to start in soon with one of the companies, and it costs a lot of money in terms of the budget is about £11 million. A number of companies actually in there already, leading by Nottingham Trent University as a BI there. So this is after a long time convincing them that we need to upgrade the system, we need to involve an AI, we need to make it more automation. How? Through these kind of proposals. So this is one of the proposals that will help actually, and we believe that is going to impact the CNI in any country, and it could be applied anywhere. So improving the cyber resilience, it will help in terms of transformation as well, and the new technology. It will create a hybrid virtualization platform as well. It will increase the protection of legacy system, and as well dynamics risk assessment, training and incident response as well, and risk approaches as well, smart monitoring for and logging system as well, and AI assistive in tools in power architecture. So all of these kind of enhancement will be as an outcome of the proposal, or kind of achievements will happen as a proposal. Actually, this is something that's been done through something similar to what we're doing here, actually, and it is known as FIGURE, which is a kind of a joint platform for academics and industrial experts in the cybersecurity. And this is established in the UK 2 years ago. The co-founders are kind of academics. It's a kind of mixture of academics and industry in the UK. And the point out of this is actually gathering companies as well and academics to speak about their challenges under an entity. And based on that challenges, actually we go and find a kind of solutions, how we can do that in terms of funding, in terms of funding certain projects with a number of universities, and it is open actually for anyone to join. Thank you very much. Thank you. Any question? Good, is that clear? Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tawfiq. Now, please welcome our third and last speaker of this session, Dr. Konstantinos Marcinos, Associate Professor, Royal Holloway, University of London, UK.
Click here on the microphone. Okay, perfect. Works. Okay, hello everyone. It's great to be back here in Kuwait, and thank you very much for the invitation and for the hospitality. So my name is Konstantinos Marcinos. I'm from Royal Holloway, University of London. To begin with, okay, I understand this is the last talk of the day and everybody must be tired, so I promise I'll keep it short. And I think we're a bit behind schedule in any case, right? Okay. All right. So first of all, just to say, this is a joint work, and it's a combination of 3 projects actually. And beyond Royal Holloway, it involves Queen Mary University of London and Nottingham University. So to stay loyal with the topic of the of this conference, I thought I could combine these 3 topics here. So we will talk about behavior and behavior change. We will talk a bit about AI as a solution that we are providing to facilitate this behavior change. And lastly, we will talk about the ethics and what can we do to have ethical interventions in cybersecurity and AI. All right. So first of all, the human factor. Why is this important, and what do we mean with behavior change? As Dr. Fay was talking about earlier, it's a very important factor. If you check the studies, we don't have enough academic studies actually to indicate the extent to which the human factor causes security breaches. I think the 24% that I mentioned here is the most conservative one. There are studies which indicate 70 and 80%. But in any case, all these numbers are important. So if we tackle and we can actually minimize the attack surface that is caused by social engineering and human error in general, we would have achieved a significant step in securing systems and platforms and everything really. Right, and by the way, these errors and the human factor in social engineering is everyone is susceptible to these things. We have limited cognitive capacity. We just have, if you know, our cognitive capacity consciously is something like 120 bits per second. This is what we can process consciously per second. Some say 140, but it's in this vicinity. It's not more than that. So fatigue, cognitive capacity, the lack of time, the lack of information, all these things and other psychological principles lead to us falling victims to such attacks or causing errors. And then we have the discussion of having a human in the loop with regards to AI. This could be the whole topic of another conference, if you ask me, and it's whether we want to have the accountability associated with machine learning as in machines, and or humans. And the fact is that, in my opinion, still AI has qualitative differences with humans. For example, we are still better at understanding the bigger picture, whereas AI is not always able to do so. Anyway, so behavioral interventions, okay, we have behaviors of individuals which are non-desirable because they are risky and they cause security, well, they might lead to exploitation of vulnerabilities or increase the attack surface overall. Okay, and then cybersecurity behavior change intervention is any modification that can change such a behavior. That's it. How we do that? By hopefully carefully designed mechanisms that I will describe shortly. And again, the aim is to minimize the overall attack surface. All right, and I would like to take a step back here, and this is what we were discussing earlier, because there is, traditionally we have been talking about security awareness training, but being aware of something simply doesn't mean that we take action. We can be aware of the risks, but do nothing. So these are some of the differences here between awareness and behavior, because yes, we can measure awareness to an extent, either indirectly. There is a lot of, or some speculation there with regards to what it does, but it's not the important point. The important point, what is observable, and these are the actions and the behaviors of individuals, and this is objective, and we can directly measure that. So we should be changing the paradigm, we should be changing the narrative of training and education towards changing behaviors of individuals. And so these are the types of behavioral interventions that you can have. I'm going to talk about fear appeals as an example very shortly in the next couple of slides. Fear appeal is something that you say, well, these are the bad things that will happen to you if you don't do something. Okay, so if you don't stop smoking, for example, this is what's going to happen to you. And in fact, we drew a lot of insights from health sciences on these approaches, and psychology and behavioral economics have been doing that traditionally. Then you have nudges and boosts. So a simple example of a nudge is when you all hopefully visit us in London, you will see on the escalators in the tube that on the right-hand side, you have blue footprints which indicate that you should be standing there if you are standing. Otherwise, if you're walking, you go to the left. So it's a non-mandatory suggestion as a nudge that people might or might not follow. That's it. Boosts are a bit more of an educated version of nudges. We don't have to go into detail here. And then we have conceptual frameworks which basically utilize these notions here: motivation, ability, how easy it is to perform something, what triggers people to take action for something, and whether they are rewarded about it. Non-conscious refers to the traditional advertisement approach. So you have a product and you have a fancy notion, something pleasant, you associate the product with that notion. And we have that in security as well. It's, to say the least, not so ethical in many ways. Nobody's complaining about this in advertisement, by the way, but since we are rethinking things in security now, it's a good opportunity to start thinking about these things again. And then we have incentives and disincentives which actually work, but the problem with these is that if you keep providing rewards to people in order to do something, they do it and it works, but once you stop providing the reward, you revert back to the original behavior. So this is a very simple example of a fear appeal. You have a sender, a messenger, a message, and a receiver. And I'm going to show you a more elaborate version of this now, which is this one. So you have a message which includes what is the impact, what is the likelihood, what is the ability of the targeted individual to perform an action. So you say to the user, you have been trained to do this, you know how to do this. And then what is the response efficacy? How good is the solution that we are providing to the user? But all these things are perceived in a specific way by humans. So we all perceive probabilities or impact differently as from the objective ones. And this is important here because the receiver will have a specific perception about what the likelihood and the impact is, and they will have their own perception about how able they are to perform an action and how good the solution is. So the way you do this, again, it goes back to communication, which is very important here. How you communicate these things, who communicates these things, and so on. And we have two possible outcomes. The one is a defensive stance from the message receiver, which means that they reject the message and they take no action, or worse, they take some other opposite action. And the good outcome would be to have protection motivation. As we say, there's a relevant theory about this. The message is accepted, and then we have the individuals adopting the action, hopefully for more than once, so that they can develop a habit around that. Okay, so if we want to be talking about ethics, and if you dive a bit deeper into ethics, you will end up with the three main ethical traditions, and you will have to deal with these four gentlemen here. Starting from the right, Bentham and Stuart Mill, this is utilitarian ethics. Very quickly, this means that ethical is something that it leads to the benefit of society or the group or the organization. That's it, very, very simplistically. Then we have Immanuel Kant with the ontological ethics. These tend to be a bit misunderstood sometimes because there is a sense of duty there, but the individual still voluntarily takes that duty. And the key point with this type of ethics is universality. We want to have universal rules applying here. And then we have Aristotle with virtue ethics, who basically says that something is ethical and there is worth in itself. So there is no further means to do something, there is no further goal, but it's ethical on its own. And it's individualistic because it allows individuals to utilize their critical thinking, but it also allows a social interaction. It's more difficult to model, but it's actually more flexible and more adaptable, in my opinion. So if you check the literature around computer science, cybersecurity with regards to ethical principles, you will end up with this here. Autonomy, non-maleficence, like do not do harm to the individual who receives an intervention. Beneficence, benefit the individuals. Fairness, justice, privacy, trust. I will not read them all, but you can see here, these things here. So what we did is we said, okay, how can we provide a somewhat useful framework, a conceptual framework, not a practical one, not a guide, that can capture all or most of these principles. And we ended up with this, it's not 6 ethical principles actually, it's 6 clusters of ethical principles, because some of them include a number of principles. So, autonomy. Users need to be able to decide for themselves. You give them an intervention, and they should be able to say, I accept it or I reject it. I accept that I should stand on the right, for example, on the London Tube or not. And then, okay, it has to be beneficial for the users or recipients, and it should not cause harm to them. Then we have justice. Justice means that the intervention needs to be adapted to the skill set, to the background, and to the special characteristics of the recipient. Transparency is important here because it includes the constructs of trust, and it allows for responsibility, for example. So with studies, especially after COVID, figured out that digital trust is built around several things, and these include indeed how trusted the platform is or a technology. But one key component that was not clear initially was that people had to trust the intentions of the designers behind the platform or intervention or technology. And this was not the case with COVID, for example, because a lot of people mistrusted the government or the whatever agency was providing the solution. So transparency is important with regards to the processes and what happens with it and why it exists in the first place. And then we have privacy, which is, you know, the fact that users or the recipients of the intervention need to be able to control their own data. Okay, you might say these are all fine, these principles or clusters of principles look great, but do we all agree on this? So we asked 141 security professionals to evaluate what they think about these principles. 5 of them were fine. So these are the top 4 bars representing 5 principles, but have a look at the last one here. So if I remember correctly, the black bar here represents 51%, and the gray one, 29%, so we have 80% of participants which are related to security, saying that they disagree or somewhat disagree, so overall have a negative disposition towards autonomy. So 80% of security professionals said that no, we don't think that the user should be able to choose whether they receive an intervention. That's food for thought here. I don't have the right answer, but we should be considering what people think about ethics and what is ethical in any context. And so we also provide now some steps in order to build such interventions. And it's a lot of, there's a lot, it's quite intuitive if you ask me. So you have a problem, you identify the problem, you identify your context, your organization or country or company, or whatever it is that you're going to apply the intervention within and its characteristics, and then you design the intervention, you apply it, you measure its impact, and then you evaluate and go back and see whether it works, whether you need to change it, and so on. So this is a high-level description of the steps, and where ethics come in these steps are usually, they are throughout the process, but usually it's steps 3 and 4. So the last part here has to do with the actual AI solution that the title suggests. So we have been creating this tool. First of all, it captures within an organization, say, right? It captures all policies, it analyzes them with machine learning, and it produces fast and specific instructions or help to users. So if they say, can I use this email based on the confidentiality levels and the roles which are involved, okay? And then they get a solution which is a response, which is a very specific thing from the policies. But it also does that automatically for the users because it understands, it analyzes behavior. It captures several behavioral points, and this is also another big discussion here. It analyzes them and it tries to predict or foresee or actually capture in real time risky behaviors of individuals. So if we have a solution or a technology like this, I'm going to close with this, and it's mostly, my main point here is that it's not straightforward to do ethics, and we need to be critically considering many aspects. So if we have such a solution such as the one I mentioned, this framework of ethical principles can be used as a conceptual apparatus to help us think where we want to apply it, how we want to apply it. For example, we are talking about privacy, okay? Depending on the tradition of ethics that you follow, whether you know the tradition or not, you can make different choices. So is it, for example, ethical to violate the privacy of a patient in order to save their lives? Okay, that's a question. Things like that need to be considered. And the point is that everything here is contextual. So I think it's a very good opportunity to start thinking about ethics and AI and cybersecurity in general. So I will stop here, and thank you very much for your attention. Feel free to connect. And happy to take any questions, of course.
Questions?
Thank you very much for the nice presentation. I have one question. Can you give us any example where the more reliable than the AI-driven decisions?
So, okay. As humans, we have a number of rationalities defined, okay? So we have bounded rationality. It doesn't mean that we are irrational necessarily, but we have environmental rationality and so on. AI so far mostly utilizes expected utility maximization, as we say in economics. So basically, it can weigh the pros and the cons of a situation, whereas humans are more able to identify the overall context. So if you give AI a problem, I mean, okay, this is very simplistic now, but the overall point is that AI can solve specific problems. Of course, it's getting better day by day now, and I am at risk of embarrassing myself by saying this, but overall, the understandability of the situation by humans in a broader context is still better. So a human would understand the political implications, the emotional implications, and other implications that you have by applying a solution in a workplace, for example. Whereas AI might be more limited in doing so.
Thanks for, that's a fantastic talk. So I guess that behavior change is a very interesting angle, right? Because, if I told you, that something bad was going to happen, many people will still not do anything. If I turn on lights, have flashing red lights, but people will still not listen. So the question is, we did that very well in COVID. In COVID, we told people not to go out, they didn't go out. So how can we, what are aspects of cultural issues? For example, how would Kuwait differ from the UK, or how would, say, Greece differ from the UK, that we could really build on to improve on behavior change? What were your thoughts on that?
Okay, that's a very good question, thank you. And I don't know how well we did with COVID, but because, let me remind you that a lot of people did not agree with the whole thing or believe that it existed. And then, okay, we have examples of people having terminal illnesses, and so the doctors tell them you are actually going to die if you don't change your behavior today, and they still don't do that. So it's not easy. If it's not easy to do that for something so serious, like a life or death matter, imagine how difficult it is to do it for cybersecurity reasons. So indeed, I think culture is very important, and we have seen that, and it was a great experiment, so to say, with COVID around the globe, because the main reason I would say goes back to what I mentioned with regards to digital trust, and that is the extent to which people trust what the government or the agency, or in general, the messenger says. That's the point. So you've had countries with more trust in their governments and overall in society and in the system and law enforcement, and this was an easier to convey message, and compliance was higher. And you had countries with a lot of distrust, and you have countries with higher power distance, and you have countries with more agreeable members of society, so to say. I'm not saying it in a bad manner, I'm saying that in an actual manner. So all these factors do contribute to compliance and acceptance of a solution. And it would be an interesting study, actually.
Yeah, thank you very much, Konstantinos, for the great presentation. So the key question or the topic is cybersecurity by design, or what we call security by design. The main idea that I want to convey is inclusivity. So when you include people in the loop or human in the loop, you need to take into consideration, there are people, for example, where I come from, never went to school, or old people. So when you involve them in the loop, they don't know how to deal with such scenario. So if you build a system that is cyber secure by design, you basically reduce the human interaction, which is great. So what do you think about that? Thank you.
I think you're absolutely right. I think my presentation was not detailed enough in this matter. So what you say goes to the principle of justice, which means that we need to take into consideration that the elderly, for example, are not familiar, or they don't have digital literacy needed to do certain tasks. And I know a number of governments that actually said as a guideline, well, you all have grandchildren, go consult with them and they will help you with your taxes or, with logging in that system and so on. But that's not the right way to do it. And your other point, when I mentioned the man in the loop, I was not referring to the average individual. I was referring, for example, in a situation that you have a system like this with AI monitoring behaviors in an anonymized fashion, but you need to have a knowledgeable individual, maybe a security professional, maybe a CISO or something like that in place to be able to judge what's coming out of the system and how it works as a means of, well, I don't want to say defense, but of controlling things or checking what's going on.
Professor, thank you very much for your detailed information, and it's a very good. But I have one question about the AI itself is a threat to itself, number one. Is it AI is threat to itself?
To itself?
Yeah. And if not, since you are talking about the behavioral changes in the AI, how this will, if you, can you teach ethics to AI?
Okay, these are very difficult questions. I think we need to save this for tomorrow's panel. You're right, if I can avoid it like this. But honestly, I don't think I have a straight answer for this, to be honest. I think yes, AI can be trained with ethics, but at this point, we need to be the man in the loop, so to say. So, for example, AI might be able to diversify between the ethical traditions and take different approaches, and it would be able to understand what humans do in most of the cases. But I don't have an answer for that. I'm sorry, I don't know. Maybe we can solve the world tomorrow, right? Tomorrow. Let's save it for tomorrow. It's a very good question, though. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Konstantinos, for a great conclusion to the day. And now a token of appreciation for our speakers. Please welcome Professor Khalid Baqain to the stage. Please welcome on stage Dr. Israfil Biswas to receive his award. Please welcome on stage Dr. Tawfiq Al-Hadrami to receive his award. Please welcome on stage Dr. Konstantinos Marcinas to receive his award. This concludes the first day of the conference. Thank you everyone for making it a success. We will hopefully see you again tomorrow for the second day. Thank you.